These scams are coming out every single day. There's something new.
The ability to have artificial intelligence mislead you when AI starts to realize that they can manipulate us to get its way and it's plugged into everything, how frightening would that be?
And it's going to be able to manipulate us based on how well it knows us. Facebook knows when you have colon cancer before the doctor knows you have colon cancer. And so it's going to be able to manipulate us at scale once it's plugged into these algorithms. AI is interesting, but there's all these scams. Right. They're prevalent. And the problem is if you have a short attention span, are you really going to do your due diligence on a fake AI short? I'll give you a perfect example. Just this past week or a couple of weeks ago, there was this deep fake. There were deep fakes that came out of Mr. Beast endorsing the iPhone 15. It said, hey y'all, Mr. Beast here. If you want an iPhone for $2, click the link below. It wasn't Mr. Beast.
Right.
It was a deep fake. They put Mr. Beast face, Mr. Beast voice over someone saying this. And he goes to Twitter and he's like, y'all, that wasn't me. But the damage has been done.
Right. Yeah. It's everywhere by now. Like if it goes, well, if it's Mr. Beast and it's been up for even an hour or two, it's over. It's gotten hundreds of thousands of views.
And they're so good with it. Like this went super viral on TikTok and it looked like Mr. Beast. It looked like his profile. They even put like a blue check mark at the end of the name. I don't know if you've seen that where it's like Mr. Beast with like a blue check mark emoji. So it's not really
But you see the blue and you assume it's, yeah.
Exactly. If you're not like trained to see that verification, it's almost impossible to catch. Not that many. By the way, another deep fake that went huge is the Tom Hanks dental scam.
But first, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your information if you ask them, but they make it super hard to do it. You can try Aura free for 2 weeks using my link. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats that you can't see. It's really easy to set up, so you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. You can either let people continue to profit off of you and your private information, or you can go to aura.com/Matt to start your 2-week free trial, also linked in the description below.
There was an advertisement for this dental plan that Tom Hanks, quote unquote, had endorsed. They used deepfake technology to mimic his voice, to mimic his face. And all of a sudden, Tom Hanks shows up on your Instagram or TikTok profile saying, hey, buy my dental plan. I'm Tom Hanks. You can have great teeth like me.
Do you remember the ones with Facebook where somebody would contact you? They would create obviously they create a fake page. And then they add all of your friends. And then they come and they contact you and say, listen, I'm out of the country. Like this happened to my mom, a few times. Like some friend of hers was out of the country. I'm in Budapest. My wallet and passport were stolen. I need X amount of dollars. Can you send me $1,000? I'll give it to you, back as soon as I get back into the States. And she's about to send him the money.
Yeah.
Because one, at that point, this was 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, she's in her 60s at that point or 70s. So what happens now with AI, just like Colby was saying, when that same person calls you up and says the same thing, only it's their voice. If you were questioning it before, you're not going to question it at all now because it's AI and it's that person's voice. And they're like, oh, hey, Margaret, it's me, Jennifer. You're not going to believe this. I'm in Budapest and I lost my wallet and it was stolen. Can you please Western Union me $1,000? And of course.
Right. You need to have like a safe word. Me and my family have like a code word. So I'm not going to say it live in front of tens of thousands of people, but we have a code word to catch that because it's so easy to create. You can go to 11labs.io. You upload just a few minutes of your voice and it's going to replicate your voice shockingly well. You can make someone say anything. I think we also need to be really careful about using AI on autopilot.
Right.
I don't know if you heard this. There was this case, it just blew my mind. There was an attorney in New York. He's suing these airline for personal injuries that, one of his clients got injured. He's going to sue this airline, right? So he has one of his assistants, actually not an assistant, one of his partners at the law firm who has 30 years of experience. This is not like a newbie. This is a seasoned attorney. And he's doing research and he's using ChatGPT to do research. So ChatGPT is giving him all this case law because they want to set precedent. This is why you should pay us because this is what's happened in the past.
Right.
So ChatGPT is writing out all these cases and he goes to ChatGPT and he says, hey, is this real? Were these legit cases? And ChatGPT is like, yes, we referenced LexisNexis. We referenced Westlaw. These are legit. So he's like, okay, good enough for me.
Right.
Go to court, present it to the judge, and the judge is like, this is all bogus. They cited 6 fake cases, fake precedent, fake quotes. It was all fake. And so
why did ChatGPT misled him or lied to him or what did it?
It told him that these are real cases. I mean, maybe real in its own mind, but these cases did not happen. 6 cases.
Instead of verifying it, like he should have gone and said, okay, well, let me look the case up just to make sure.
Yeah, you should have sent it to one of his legal assistants to actually go back and validate and verify the findings. But they didn't.
Man, how bad did he look?
Not good. But I mean, I think it's a good lesson for us. It's a good lesson for us, if we're using these tools, we got to do our due diligence, especially before we present it in front of a judge in court.
Right.
You're speaking of judges in court, we're talking a little bit about audio being fake audio. I don't think you're going to be able to use audio in court anymore. Right. Because how easily can I manipulate your voice into saying something you didn't say, present it in court and say, hey, we'll take Trump, for example. Right. You may have heard of the guy. He's under indictments in like 100 different places and 100 different, who knows? By the time this goes live, he might be indicted in every country in the world for God knows what.
He might have beat them all too.
He might have. But there's this one recording of him talking about classified documents and whatnot. I would not be surprised if he goes in front of the court and he said, I never said that. I didn't say it. Right. This is AI generated.
Right.
Who's going to tell him it's not?
Right. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Hilarious. Remember we interviewed Andrew Bustamante, and he was talking about how like when 10 years ago, they had an AI system at the CIA where you could talk to it and ask it questions and it would look things up. And I was going to say, what if I can imagine that CIA already has, something where they'll create an entire wire. It seems like it's a wire where like they were, recording a phone call, but really it's all AI generated.
Sure.
And then you can turn. Oh, wow, that's spooky.
Or maybe the context. Maybe it's like 95% you actually said it, but they just put in like 1 or 2 words that make it almost indistinguishable.
Yeah,
and how are you going to remember?
Yeah.
I was watching Game of Thrones. And there's like Littlefinger, one of the characters, like said something in the first season. He says like chaos is a ladder, right? And then in like season 6, one of the like Brandon Stark, the spoiler here, Brandon Stark, who turns into like he can see everything everywhere all the time. He says to him in a quote, chaos is a ladder, like calling him out, like, I know what you said. And Littlefinger's like, oh, you got me. I don't remember what I said yesterday, let alone 6 seasons ago.
Right.
So how would you say, like, I never said that? It's going to come down to everyone saying, I didn't say that or I did say that. How are you going to know what's real?
Dude, the system's so fucked up already. Yeah. There's
no way that you're going to be able to validate what's real or what's not. There's just no way. And so what it's going to end up coming down to is like, whatever you think is real is going to be real. Whatever you don't think is real will be real. I'll give you another example. This just happened a few days ago. Israel and Palestine.
I was going to say, isn't that already the way it is? Like people put stuff out there, and if you say it long enough and loud enough, then people will think that that's the truth.
Sure. But at least you can say, well, here's the video.
Right.
Here's the photo.
Well, now they can say, and here's the video, and here's the audio. And it's all fake. But if you put it out there long enough, there's so many things that are like that. It's like the history is written by the victors,
right.
What really happened and what the history books happen and what goes down, in history doesn't necessarily mean that's what happened.
But I hate
you were saying the Palestine thing.
Well, yeah, because gaslighting is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Say, don't believe your lying eyes because, but I can see the video. I know that didn't happen. That did happen.
Right.
But now I can't believe my lying eyes, so to speak, Like, so in Israel and Palestine, Ben Shapiro released this a horrible photo of this burnt child, right? Burnt child. It was released by the Israeli government. He posted it. It's gotten hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views.
Right.
And then this other journalist, I want to say Michael Jackson, but I know it's not Michael Jackson. Anyway, this other journalist comes out and says, holy crap.
That photo 40 years ago.
Well, he says this is AI generated. He used this program called AIorNot.com, which essentially what you do is you upload photos and it tells you whether it's AI generated or not.
Okay.
And he says, holy crap, I uploaded it and it's not real. Well, it turns out that AIorNot.com is not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So it still leads to the question of, so you've got half of the population saying it is real. It actually happened. This is a real photo. And then half the population is saying it's not.
Right.
How is there any way to know? There's any way to know. And you might say, oh, well, they'll figure it out. But we've got, how long is that going to take?
Well, you figure out by finding out who actually took the photograph too. Like, who was the photographer? What was the source? Where did it come from? Was it just something that Ben Shapiro found online and, screenshotted it and said, hey, this is what this is, or, this is what the caption says, so I'm going with it because it was on Google, or did he actually get it from the photographer that was, in Israel and took the photograph?
Right.
So, you have to figure out how to verify those things.
Well, and it's really hard too, because like one media outlet, I don't know, let's say the New York Times posts something and then 10 other news outlets run with that and then they post it and then 100 more.
That's true.
And the New York Times, maybe they make a redaction in a week. They say, yeah, you know what? Turns out that was AI generated. Are all of those hundreds, if not thousands of people that have news sites that have cited that going to go back and say, and redact?
They don't do that they don't do that when they've actually really majorly made a mistake. It'll be on page 5. It'll be a little tiny blurb. Oh, by the way, last month we said this and that wasn't true.
Right.
So if they don't want to do it when it's them specifically saying something that's incorrect, they're certainly not going to say it if they borrowed it or found it from another news organization. They're not going to take responsibility. Nobody wants to take responsibility anymore.
Look, how much work does it take? I mean, quite frankly, a day later, it's old news. Nobody cares anymore because it's on to the next thing.
Well, I think by taking responsibility, you gain credibility. By ignoring, by saying things and then just ignoring it, you lose credibility by not saying, hey, I messed up. This was a mistake. This is what I did. That was wrong. Here's how it happened. You could explain, here's how it happened. And when I was wrong by going to that source, I should have double checked it. I should have vetted it myself. I didn't. That was a mistake. Like, you gain credibility because then from now on, when you say something, people think, look, either it's probably true. And if it's not true, they'll definitely tell me it's not true because they take pride in that. But now what they do is they just ignore it. Yeah. You say nothing. You just move forward with the news and you think, well, they'll forget about it. And the problem is now you do forget about it. Within 2 weeks, like you said, nobody remembers.
Yeah. It's a real problem, but we're definitely running into this phase of humanity where, I mean, I think this has always been true that your credibility is important, but now I think more so than ever because there's going to be trusted news sources. There's going to be untrusted. Frankly, that's I think why podcasting and media has become so big because nobody trusts big media anymore. It's like you continue to gaslight us. You release videos saying these are mostly peaceful protests with a giant fire raging in the background. It's like,
well, have you seen that video where they've got all those news stations saying the exact same thing?
Right.
I mean, 30, 40, 50. It's like, so you're telling me that you're not getting your marching orders from somebody? Like, oh, no, wait, we independently. No. You're getting, there are certain stories you get your marching orders on. And I know this because when I was locked up, and I started doing research on cases. Like let's say I was writing your story and you're a criminal, and I ordered a bunch. Of course, I ordered the Freedom of Information, everything else. But I would get the U.S. attorney would put out a press release, and then the following day, I would get a bunch of articles in. So it's like, okay, well, this is dated on the 3rd, and then on the 4th, these 15 or 5 or 10 articles came out, and well, they're almost identical to this. And I started noticing that unless it was a massively huge case, if it was just a small case, well, not a small case, for them to release a press release has to be a semi-big case, but there's tons of big cases. I would notice, I'm like, the only difference, like this is a consolidated version of this.
Yeah.
And this article is a larger version of this, but it's got a few quotes in it. So they made this guy made some calls, two calls, and this one, they're really just expanding on this, but probably just called the U.S. attorney. Like they didn't do any research. It's all their marching orders are the press release issued by the U.S. government.
Just the talking points.
Right. And so to me, and maybe you have a larger one where they went and they did their own research, found another article from 2 months earlier, and maybe added a few of the details in from that one just by saying like, this investigation was started 3 months ago when this happened. And then they include they're not doing anything. They're rewriting the basic articles. And sometimes they're not even changing anything, because the truth is that if the press release is put out by the federal government, then it's fair game. Yeah. I can pull almost verbatim from it. I don't even have to rewrite it.
Are they being transparent about it at least?
No, they don't say anything. They just regurgitate what was already said in a slightly different way. That, hey, there was, 17 people were arrested in a massive, Ponzi scheme connected to Bitcoin. Like it's literally like they don't know anything that wasn't in this. And they say the whole thing, and you'll have 8 or 10 different articles that are all taken from here. Nobody's done anything. And so now when you go and you look, now what happens if this guy was found not guilty? There's no press release put out about him being found not guilty, or half the charges being dropped, and he pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and gets a year. Like that initial press release makes it sound like he's going to do. He's looking at 90 years. He's an arch criminal. What happens when the guy pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud 8 months later and does 6 months in jail because he lied on some form? Then he's done. Like it's over. But that nobody's doing any real investigative work anymore. It has to be dropped. A lot of the stories that are major investigative works are being done by people that aren't even journalists. Does that make sense? Like they do it on the side.
Well, so I have a real problem with that in and of itself, the quote unquote real journalist. Like I get this online where people are like, well, you didn't get a degree for journalism, so who validates?
That doesn't mean anything. You don't have to. I mean, there's no real, when I say real journalist, I mean like somebody who that's like their full-time job is like they write newspaper articles, they write for magazines, like that's their full-time job. But a lot of stuff is done by some guy who works at Home Depot, and on the side, he's looking into this weird thing and he's making some phone calls, and before you know it, he puts together an article, and he's got an article written, or he posts it on a blog, and then that blog or that article ends up some other journalist comes in and they grab it and it ends up in the newspaper. Well, nobody was looking into this before. Yeah, this guy is the one who stumbled onto it and gathered all the information and ordered the Freedom of Information Act and put it all together, and then somebody else picks it up and runs with it. But I mean, there's so many things that are just incorrect that are out there and being propagated.
Well, so this is there's this idea that that there's all these conspiracy theories. The problem is the conspiracy theories start to come true and hold themselves true. Then you start to be like, well, maybe there is some validity to that guy at Home Depot who was just doing the background research. I mean, maybe he didn't get every single fact right, but
no, I'm saying he probably got everything right. I'm saying there's no real journalists that are really looking into anything. I mean, here's what I don't is like the New York Times is run on a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
Compare the amount of people that worked at the New York Times 20 years ago. It's nothing. There's almost nobody there. I would be shocked if they don't scale it down even more and just start having ChatGPT write stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they already are.
Yeah, who knows what's going to come? What's going to happen? I mean, and the ability to have, artificial intelligence mislead you. Like I've watched several articles on that. They're like, listen, when AI starts to lie to us or starts to realize that they can manipulate us to get its way and it's plugged into everything, how frightening would that be?
Oh, and it's happening.
Like it's not hard to manipulate somebody anyway. Like let's say you steal some money. You steal 650, 700,000. Well, 700,000 doesn't sound sexy. So what I say is, he stole nearly $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that a lie? No. But you know what the person who reads it says? The moment I read that article and somebody and Colby says something and sparks a conversation, bro, This guy, he was robbing ATMs. He stole $1 million. I'm not going to tell Colby it was nearly $1 million. When Colby tells somebody else, it'll be over $1 million. The truth is, I said nearly $1 million. I said nearly $1 million because $1 million sounds sexier, right? Yeah. But it's manipulative. So,
yeah, you're pegging someone's brain to that number.
And that's not even a lie, because guess what? 700,000 is nearly $1 million. In my opinion, it's nearly $1 million.
Yeah.
So, it's not, to me, that's not even necessarily a lie. Is it manipulative? Yeah, it's kind of, but it's also sexier. And, I'm not prosecuting anybody. I'm just telling a story. So wait till AI can manipulate on a scale that humans can't fathom.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be so much better at manipulating because of all the data that's being collected. Italy actually implemented a ban on ChatGPT because of all the personal data that it was inputting. Because part of using ChatGPT is quote unquote programming the chat to speak in your voice or speak in a certain way, right? Like you can train to speak in your Matt Cox's voice, Mark Savant's voice, whatever. So Italy shut it down because it's going to be able to do is it's going to know us inside and out. It's know our personalities, our proclivities, what scares us, what excites us, our relationships. And it's going to be able to manipulate us based on how well it knows us. Heck, Facebook knows when you have colon cancer before the doctor knows you have colon cancer. And so it's going to be able to manipulate us at scale once it's plugged into these algorithms. Way better than a human being can, my opinion. God forbid you have a Neuralink hooked up to the back of your skull, and then, it's feeding into you AI ideas. It's taking out data at scale. What's really shocking is how much data is actually attached to your email address. I know I'm jumping around here, but I was talking to this AI app developer on my show the other day, and he has this calendar app. And this is how it works. It's pretty incredible. It's a sales calendar. And so if I send you the calendar, hey Matt, sign up for an appointment. We're talk about your product. You input your email, and this AI app scours the web for all data associated with your email. Where you've worked, where you went to college, where you live, your wife, how many dogs you have, how many kids you have, what are your interests. Your email is pegged to every time you log into something, your email is pegged to that. So it can use your email to get all this data, and then when we hop on the phone call, I already know everything about you.
Right.
It gives me all the prompts, all the talking points. We can get down to business faster because I can start to develop rapport with you much more quickly, which is pretty cool. Even on the back end, another thing that it does that's really cool is because I have your email attached, because it's already done all the research on where you live and whatnot. Let's say we're in Florida here. Hurricane's coming through Florida. The AI app will automatically send you an email and say, hey, Matt, hope you're okay. I know the hurricane's coming. Let me know if you need anything. Boom. Now we're like best buds because you're like, wow, Mark is really thinking about me. It's not me. It's the AI app that I have programmed properly to get you pegged down, Yeah. So it's mind-boggling. That's not necessarily manipulation. That's relationship building. But
it's still manipulative because let's face it, if I know that you're a huge Trump supporter and on the phone, and I know that, and I go into the conversation with that, and I say, and I just mentioned that my next door neighbor, hey, what's going on? It's nothing. Everything's fine. Oh, everything okay? Well, yeah, I probably shouldn't say this, but God, no, my neighbor put out this Biden sign, and I just can't stand the guy. Like the guy can barely, put together words to form a sentence, and I just don't get it. I don't, I shouldn't even say that, but listen, that guy on the phone is going to be like, he's going to be more, because mostly people stay away from politics. So he's going to be like, I'm with you, bro. Like he's going to go with you over the next guy who's a young millennial who he already feels like, I don't trust you. Something's up with you. So he may be like, yeah, hey, I hear you, bro. Yeah. Listen, I was at a Trump rally last month. Those Biden guys, they drive me. That's it. We're in. I'm good. And if I know you have kids and I say, yeah, what worries me is, I've got a daughter, right? It just really I hear you, man. I got a son and 2 daughters. I hear you. Like, do you know my daughter, she's 17. She didn't even have a driver's license. Man, these kids, man, I can't believe. That's it. We're good. I don't have a daughter. And I don't, none of that's true, right? So it doesn't matter. Right now, when we get down to business, I've already won you over.
Right.
So you may actually take a less favorable deal just because you like me, you trust me, we're on the same page, we're good.
Yeah, people work with people. They're like, I don't even barely sell anymore. Like, if someone takes the time out of their day to go to your website, book a link on your calendar, they already know that they want to buy it. They just want to know that they like you and they want to work with you, right?
Right.
So if you know all that information about them, it's over. And then again, you plug it into your CRM, which is sending out automatic emails. You put them into an email sequence, and you can customize it at scale using AI. I mean, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are. I mean, it's I don't know. It's really fascinating to me how this is going to roll out. And in privacy, I think becomes a big question. I don't even know if we can have privacy anymore. You know, people.
I'm pretty much an open book. I think I'm worried about my private information, but there's.
I mean, like you want to have like we came here today. We drove down from Fort Lauderdale, and it's like I want the GPS to tell me which way to go. I like back when I was growing up, we had MapQuest or I had a road atlas.
MapQuest. How old are you, bro?
40. I just turned 40 this year. Yeah.
Colby doesn't even know what MapQuest is.
No, I don't know. That's paper. Print it out.
Bro, listen, when I was on the run and I was driving around, I'm driving all around the United States. Like MapQuest, if I didn't have MapQuest, I wouldn't have known where. Like I couldn't probably follow a map. The streets are. You got these little streets are this small, and you had to flip open the back to look up the street name and then try and find it on the map. Like it's now I look at it like it just seems like I feel like a caveman even knowing that.
I mean, I don't think I get anywhere without my GPS.
I don't know my address. Every time somebody asks me my address, I'm like, hold on. I have to pull it up and I look and I'm like, oh yeah. Here it is. I've been here 2 years. Well, almost no. I've been here over 2 years. I can't tell you the address. I don't know any of the streets, how to get here. I just found out that I think this is the main street is either 54 or 56. I don't know.
That's amazing.
It says turn left. It's follow this blue line. That's what I'm doing.
It's amazing. And that's because we give up our privacy to help us. To tell us where, like, I want to get better ads. I want to get notified when, like, I don't know, a microphone goes on sale or something.
Right.
And by getting a better experience, you have to give up your privacy.
I was just thinking, listen, I wish my wife was here, bro. She's such a conspiracy, like, just nut. Like, she is, listen, if you go into our whatever pantry, listen, there's a thing of dried. Have you seen this? It's actually gone down a little bit. It's top ramen noodles.
Oh yeah,
we've got cans of tuna fish. We have, and this is all because in case the grid goes down.
Sure.
We have. I have water filtrate. We have a water filtration system that you can suck up water out of a dirty pond and pump it, and it will clean the water for you. She's got a survival book that I bought her one.
Paper book.
Yeah. Paper,
not digital. You got to go paper. Yeah.
A paper one. I walked in. I said, hey, what have you been doing? She's like, read a couple chapters of the survival book. I'm like, she's constantly saying, like, we were in New York. Well, I was in New York and I took a picture of like the New York skyline the other day and sent it to her. And her response was not, it's amazing. It's gorgeous. She was like, my God, I wouldn't want to be there if the grid went down. Like, what are you doing? Like, what
like, I can't blame her. Like, because, listen, I don't want to spend all my days worrying about what might happen, but I'll be damned if I'm not prepared when it does happen. I got chickens. I got banana trees. You need to know how to make antiseptic. That's pretty important. My mom's funny too. She had, love you, Mom. She had beans, like cans of beans hidden all over the house, on the couch, in the attic, all over the place, just in case raiders came through, just in case the grid goes down.
That's cracky. Listen, she wants to buy, like, we have to buy at least an acre. We have to get an acre. When we move out of here, we want to get an acre, move somewhere away from the city. Yeah. Because you understand what this is going to be like when the grid goes down. I'm like, the grid's not going down. You understand?
I don't know, man. I mean, everyone is terrified of nuclear war, but an EMP bomb going off in like downtown.
That's what she's worried about. Yeah.
What do you do? Listen, or like we had a Chinese balloon to flow all the way across the entire nation. What was that all about?
I mean, they're spying. Everybody spies on each other.
They're doing recon, and it's going to use AI to evaluate all of the landscape. It's probably picking out like weak points, different places where maybe there's tunnels or silos or who knows what.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to be on an acre somewhere away from everybody. She says we have to survive 90 days because by that point, 90% of society will have starved to death and they'll be gone and we'll be the survivors. I don't know that I want to survive. Like, I'd really almost feel like I'd prefer to be right under the nuclear bomb when it goes off. Like, it's over in an instant and we're good. I'm done. It's fine. Like, when she watches Walking Dead, she sees herself as being one of the survivalists. I see myself as being one of the Walking Dead. Like, I don't think I make it that far. I don't run fast. I'm not particularly athletic. I don't know how to hunt and fish. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it. But
I don't know. I'm with your wife. I want to survive. I don't want to become a zombie. I want to survive.
Seem that bad?
I mean, you're not thinking. I would assume you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah, it's over. It's fine. As long as it was over quick. I don't want to suffer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't want to suffer either, but life is suffering at the end of the day.
And listen, also, I'm 54. Like, I've been around. I've done some stuff. I'm good. I feel like maybe I haven't experienced everything I want to experience yet, but I feel okay.
I don't know, man. I feel like we're gonna start living a long time, man.
Yeah, my mom was 90. I think she was 92.
Oh, that's me.
92, bro. That's a long fucking time.
And when you start to think about like why are people breaking down and dying, it's probably because of some sort of let's say it's a disease, for example.
Right.
There are AI for radiology. I'll give you a specific example. There's AI devices out now that are 50% more effective at finding cancer in the body than a radiologist. 50%. So if you're talking about screening and eliminating cancer, like early, AI is way more efficient at doing that, right? So that's just base level diagnosing and finding problems before they evolve.
Like a drain. Seems like these old people are a drain.
Well, don't get me started on Social Security and the problems that people are living to 100, 110, 120.
It's too much.
But let's say
enough already.
So you break a hip.
Can't we have like a cap? Like at 90, like you have to report at 90. You have to report somewhere.
Maybe in Canada.
They give you like I think like dying from like an opiate, right? Like morphine seems like a good way to go. Like they get a slow drip for maybe an hour or so and they slowly up the dose and you just fall asleep and you stop. Like that seems okay to me. And at 90, like you've had a good run.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is getting pretty macabre.
You'll get to edit this.
Yeah.
You'll be able to edit, listen, this one part. Like you can make what timestamp?
Slow dripping the elderly.
You can timestamp this and mark that. Listen, you got to get rid of this part. I don't know what this guy went off script. I don't know what he was saying.
Yeah, it sounds like you and Justin Trudeau would get along quite well. Or in Seattle, they're doing like assisted suicide. That's crazy, dude. When you start talking about like,
I'm Catholic. I don't believe in that.
That is literally happening in Canada where they're saying like, well, we can't afford to provide you medical services, but have you considered killing yourself? Like, here's a nice brochure to show to grandma.
I'm a huge capitalist. Like I love capitalism, but to be honest with you, I would like free healthcare. So
yeah.
It would be nice. Like I get it. I love the I love the TikToks when they'll show like all these, American jets and what is it? The carriers and everything. And it's like, the whatever China's about to find out why Americans don't have free health care. And then they'll show this massive carrier and the jets taking off. And
man.
You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
I think that's hilarious. I'm like, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, free healthcare. I don't know if it's possible, to be honest, because
I don't think in the United States because there's so many different healthcare providers. Like you would have to go in and nationalize all these. You'd have to go in and buy up all these companies.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You need to have incentive structures too. Like
anything the government runs, they do a horrible job.
Yeah, I don't know anything that they do super well.
Well, no.
You can leave that in the comments if you know something.
The military, although it's, of course, I'm sure they're also paying way too much for every single thing they get. But, we do have a pretty good military. But if you throw enough money at that problem, you're going to get some good stuff.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it comes down to incentive structures at the end of the day. Like when Biden announced that, hey, we're going to give you a better interest rate on a loan if you have a worse credit rating.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot.
What the hell is that?
That's just stupid. That's as stupid as paying, as people that have never had slaves paying reparations to people that were never slaves.
Right.
Like it's just, what are you doing? Stop it.
Or if if you have a large student debt, we're going to pay off your student debt. Bro, these are the richest, wealthiest people that have the greatest opportunity for upward advancement. You're just going to pay off all their debts?
Well, listen, as soon as that was announced, I thought, wait a second. Like that debt, most of that debt is not even held by the government. Like these are private banks have lent that money based on guidelines set by the government. So the government would have to come in and buy up all that debt and then satisfy it. So, even if it's held by, even though a bulk of it may be held by, let's say, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or, Sallie Mae, right? Sallie Mae that holds the student loans, right?
I believe so.
So, but it's still not all of it. So you can't go to, if you're making, because I was making my payments when I had when I had student loans, I was making my payments to banks.
Yeah.
So, but I had borrowed the money from like Sallie Mae, and then I was making payments to different banks. So it's like, so you can't go to Bank of America and tell them that you're going to satisfy that debt. And of course, it went all the way up to what? To the
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court said, you can't do that.
The Supreme Court struck it down, and then Biden came back a few months later and said, we're going to do it anyway.
No, you're not. And not just that you're not going to do it, but let's face it. Then he comes in, he says he's going to all possession charges. What was it? All possession charges for federal prisoners were forgiving all for marijuana. Nobody's in prison for possession in federal prison.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
They're like, and everybody came out. All these federal guys were coming out saying, "What is he talking about? What are you talking about? You can't pardon all these people. There are no people in federal prison for possession of marijuana. Like it's distribution.
I could see maybe like a massive drug smuggler who took drugs across international lines or something.
Yeah, but that would be trafficking. Like there's no charge. Like he's forgiving charges that don't exist.
That would be a huge doobie. Yeah, I mean, to get groped up.
It's the same thing. There's all kinds of ridiculous things that happen.
Yeah.
It's like saying there's nobody coming across the border illegally. What are you talking about? That's a scary
thing. That's a scary thing. I don't even know what to think. I don't know how we're going to resolve it. I mean, maybe, I don't know if you saw that there's Amazon stores that have facial recognition technology. When you go in and buy something, you don't need to take out your wallet. You don't need to take out anything. You just go in, grab what you want and walk out. And it automatically charges your account based on facial recognition software.
That's pretty cool.
So it sounds cool. But okay, so you're doing that at, let's say, an Amazon store. Then it's a mall. Then it's a city.
Well, I was going to say, or what if somebody goes on Facebook, gets a bunch of your pictures of you, creates a face that looks like yours, and then goes into that store, buys a bunch of stuff, and it scans that face, that mask. Because have you seen these masks that they can pull down over themselves? They look amazing.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Like it's a full rubber mask that you can peel, have you seen these? They're amazing looking.
I'm envisioning, what's that movie with Keanu Reeves where they're robbing banks? That's kind of what I'm envisioning.
No. This is more like Mission Impossible.
Wow.
Like you're peeling it off. Like they do a whole thing.
It looks that real that you wouldn't be able to...
Listen, there was a guy from China that came from China with one of these, and they caught him. Where did they catch him? He had already come into the United States, and they caught him like coming through passport control because he actually got in front of somebody and they looked. Nobody had ever realized it till he got right up in front of them, and they were like, something's up.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Disguised as an air passenger. The mask is no good though. Like that doesn't show a good picture of the mask. Yeah, I read a whole article. They're saying 8 people were involved. Because I when I read the article, he had just been arrested.
It makes sense it would be an old man mask because you could kind of wrinkle it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but this thing was like really, it's too bad they didn't show it when it was on him because it was snug and good. This is peeled off.
A Hollywood-based company, SPFX Masks, later said the mask was one of its models called The Elder. The firm said it was proud of how authentic its products looked, but never intended them to be misused. That's amazing.
Yeah, but think about it. Think about what like God, what is it? What are the 3D printers?
Yeah.
Like if you take multiple photographs of somebody and it creates a likeness of them and then can print that person's likeness in a life size, you could then take that and superimpose it onto a mask, a rubber mask. So you've seen how they make the mask, right? They make a mold of you.
Right.
And then they take the opposite of the mask and they connect it over there. You put the nostrils in and the eyes. If you could get the eyes so that they actually linked up, you could basically almost duplicate somebody.
Wow.
I mean, I would think that that's definitely coming. Well, I got to do that. Got to get a face mask of somebody rich and then walk into an Amazon store and just clean them out.
Right. Have you seen those like there's like a fake Keanu Reeves TikTok page or something like that? Like you could just get people to go crazy thinking that you were the real person.
Facebook, Instagram, they just released like fake, like official fake, like a Mr. Beast AI where you go. He's got all AI dub videos. You can message it. They'll message you back. It's not called Mr. Beast. It's like, hey, I'm Bob. Like, I'm not Mr. Beast. I'm Bob. But it's like clearly Mr. Beast, and it's like partnered with Facebook and Meta. It's like their channel. There's one with like Kylie Jenner or one of the Jenners.
Paris Hilton, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Chris Paul. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of them. Yeah. Did you?
They're official. Like they're partnered with them, and
It's ridiculous.
I think they did like a recording session for like 3 hours, and now everything's AI. So if I wanted to, if I was bored or something, I could just be like talking to, whoever.
Well, I mean, I told you that like Jess's daughter spent like 2 or 3 hours on the couch talking to AI like a friend. Like, she's giggling and laughing. We're like, who are you talking to? What are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm talking to the Chat GPT. And, it's just, oh my God, it's so funny. And, but having a conversation back and forth, telling jokes, laughing, joking about this. And
dude, within 5 years, half of the population is going to be in a sexual relationship with AI chatbots. No doubt in my mind. There's already a company. It's called Replica.ai. Okay. And it's designed to be a chat bot. They create these avatars that you can chat with. It can be your AI friend. Well, what ended up happening was millions of young men were developing sexual relationships. They were getting into these sexting conversations with these AI chatbots. So Replica decided we're going to go public. We want to go big with this company, but we got to cut out the sexting because it's a little bit trashy. It's not the image we want for investors. They shut it down. There was uproar, millions of young men, saying, you've lobotomized our girlfriends. And you know what the company did? They turned the feature back on to the people that were grandfathered in. So right now, there are millions of people that are already in relationships with these AI chatbots. I was talking, it gets crazier. I was talking to an AI app developer the other day. Because I talk about AI a lot and I've got this platform, I speak to a lot of AI app developers. So I was speaking to this guy, and this is what he does. He creates AI influencers for Instagram and YouTube. I think the name of it was Daria.ai. And this AI influencer is a perfect 10 out of 10. She's gorgeous, beautiful, perfect body, perfect background. She looks amazing. And by the way, there's a bunch of them out there. So if you're into blondes, brunettes, Asian, whatever you're into, you can find them.
Right.
And they get paid for sponsored posts. I've seen AI influencers like Lil Miquela get paid up to $10,000 for one post. Okay. But that's not it. Not only do they get paid for posting, well, for just $1 per minute, you can actually text with your favorite AI influencer, just like we're talking about. So they rope you in. This is like the greatest thirst trap of all time, dude. Matt,
I don't even understand why that even is appealing. Like, does it make sense? Like, I don't get it doesn't even seem appealing, but yet people
you understand
entire relationships with. But then again, it also, there are people that remember when I was growing up, like you had, really wasn't even when I was growing up. I was in prison during this time. But this was a big thing, was like you had Facebook friends, right? People that live 5 states away that you've never met, but you talk to them constantly through Messenger, and you have entire like friendships with them, and you've never spoken to this person on the phone. It's been 3 years. You're sharing photos. You're spending hours a day texting. Like, to me, what's the relationship? Like, this is a joke, right? Like, this isn't a real friendship, and they would really feel like they were a friendship. Well, it's like falling in love online. You spoke to this person twice on the phone. You've been texting them for 6 months, and now you're going to meet, and you're telling me you're in love with this person and you want to marry them. You've been texting a couple hours a day. Like, to me, that has no appeal, and yet people do it all the time. So it's insane. So what you're saying, it has no appeal to me, but it's obviously it's massively huge.
Huge.
That's ridiculous.
Huge.
So But you were going to say something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, and I'm with you. There's a ton of people on my Facebook friends list that I've never met, or like maybe I was a friend of a friend of a friend, or whatever. So you're right there. But I mean, to this point about these AI influencers being such a big thirst trap is a thing,
right?
I mean, like I understand why thing, right? I don't think it's good for you. I think there's a lot of toxic stuff, but I understand why it's such a big industry, right? These AI texts, so you can kind of see like, okay, I'm a man, I see it, or women, but primarily men. You see an image, we're motivated visually, less emotionally, more visually. Okay, I see the image, I'm turned on, ...
Right.
Same thing with these AI influencers. You see an image, you're turned on. They look so realistic, Matt. It doesn't matter if they're real or not real, or I should say, if they're physically real or not real.
I was going to say, when it comes down to it, it would. Right.
Well, yes, but how many guys are addicted to? How many young men are not actually getting married?
Right.
Like, we're not even reproducing at replacement rate right now. I think we're like at 1.9 per couple, right? But it's the same concept. It's just taking the next level, because now when you tell it something, it will tell you back what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And this is even before you get involved, like the next level of virtual reality and augmented reality.
What have you seen the show? I want to say it's on. Oh man, I want to say it's on Netflix called Black Mirror.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Did you see the one where this woman's husband dies? I think it's a car accident. He dies, and a friend of hers at the funeral, a friend of hers comes and says, "Listen, I know you miss him," and she's like, she's crying. I miss him so much, and she's like, "Look, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but." There's an app that you can, if you allow it to, it will read all of his emails and correspondence and text from to you, and it will create a virtual personality, and you can communicate with them. And she's like, I don't want to do that. So anyway, she gets all upset and everything. Well, she ends up doing it a few days later or a week later. She's just not starting to feel better. So she ends up doing it. Well, she's carrying on such an amazing relationship with this person now. Like, he's almost better than he ever was, right? The texting. And at some point it upsells her. Like, hey, for this much money, we can recreate him. We actually give you a robot and send the robot, and she has the robot there. And I think they basically grow him, like they fill up a bathtub or something, and she puts this foam thing in there, like what do you call it? Like a baby in the fetal position, right? Like it's a full size, like he's light. Like she puts him in the thing and fills the tub up and pours some stuff in there, and it basically at some point he stands up and it's him, days later or something. But it looks just like him, and it's perfect. And I mean, he's better than he ever was. Like, it's a better version of her husband.
It's kind of terrifying.
It's amazing, bro. That episode is amazing.
It's 100% going to happen. I don't know about the physical reality. Did you watch the interview with Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg?
No.
So basically the way it works is they're hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and they put on the next generation of virtual reality goggles. And it uses this facial recognition technology, uses technology to look at the eyes. It looks very realistic.
Right.
Very realistic.
What does? The girlfriend?
Well, they put on these virtual reality goggles, and it maps out the person's face. So it's just like you and I are talking 3 feet from each other.
Right.
It's just like Zuckerberg and Friedman are in the same space speaking right next to each other.
Okay.
Right. And they go, it's really fascinating, but they go into all these conversations. That's one of the things they talk about is in this virtual reality world, you can program an AI avatar to be like a deceased loved one. So that, and that's very soon. I don't know how quickly your physical companion is going to be there.
It's stages. You'll have to, there's robots, and then, as robotics or, as androids become a real thing, maybe it may be 50 or 100 years in the future, but at some point I can imagine that would be, unless the government came in and said, look, that we can never replicate people, and something along those lines.
The government's going to be creating soldiers at scale,
right?
You don't
even need soldiers, bro. They won't even create soldiers. There's going to be nothing but drones and bombs. Well, at some point, you'll always probably need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
But
well, robot dogs is what you're going to have. They actually, in New York City, they had a robot dog, like the Boston Dynamic type of dog. People were freaking the hell out in 2021, so they shelved it. They sent it to the kennel. They actually brought it back here in 2023, so it's going to be like, like disarming bombs and doing some like really high risk stuff. But robot dog police people are here. They actually just, I think in the past couple of weeks, have put in robots into the subway system to help video and find crime happening right in the middle of these subway systems.
That's funny. It's like there's tons of things. I remember the remake of Total Recall.
Yeah,
and they have these android police, and the guys are spitting on, they're yelling at them. Like I was like, they're just being completely abusive to the robots, and I was thinking I would still be polite. I'm just a nice person. Like I say thank you to Siri sometimes.
Well, you will until they lock up or murder or perform some sort of evil act on someone that you love. They don't have emotion, right?
No, well, it's like Elon Musk was talking about like AI, where he was like, look, the problem with AI is that like, it's like if you're putting in a road, if we're told to put in a road and we realize that there's an ant pile in the way, we just run right over. We scrape it off. Like we don't think anything about it. We were told to do this. This was in the way. We have to get rid of that. Like, and he's like, that's the fear of AI, is that AI may decide that this is something that needs to be done and humanity is in the way, and therefore it has to be eliminated to get this done. And we'll think nothing of it because it's emotionless, So it wouldn't be like it's evil. It's just like, oh wow, this is becoming an issue. Like if you were to give it if it was plugged into everything, and you were to give it as part of its agenda to, clean up the planet and make the planet whole again. Okay, well then the problem is all these fossil fuels, and the problem with that is this, and the problem with that is this and this, and as a result of that, really the problem is these humans. We got to get rid of the humans.
Yeah.
Like job one is getting rid of them, and so okay, let's go ahead and just knock them out. And how do we do that? And they start working on that problem, and within a split second, they've decided that humans are a problem, and they start trying to eliminate us.
Are you familiar with the trolley problem?
Yeah, I don't know what the trolley problem.
So this is the trolley problem. It's just kind of expanding on what you're saying here. So let's say there's a trolley, right? It's on a track. It's going forward, and it recognizes that there is a person in the way, or there's three people in the way, right? And it knows that if it continues forward and runs over those three people are going to die. Tragedy.
Right.
But it has the option of swearing off of that track, in which case it'll only run over two people. So it has the option. Do I run over the three people by going straight, or do I change course to run over two people?
Right.
And how is the AI going to know what to or what not to do? So here's the question. Would you let the trolley continue on its way, or would you push the button to veer it off course where you knew it would only kill two people?
Well, two people is the lesser of the two evils.
Seems, but does that make us the killer? Does that make us a murderer by touching the button? Because there's
no good option.
There isn't.
Right.
So how does the AI make that decision of what to do? Maybe it says, okay, here's the social credit score of these people on the track. Here's the social credit score of the people that aren't on the track.
Right. These people are more of a benefit to society than not, and it does a calculation.
Yeah.
And it ends up being, well, it's like the, did you see the movie I, Robot?
Oh yeah, Will Smith.
You know what's funny about that movie? If you read the book, and I forget who the author is, the book is like 900 pages long. The chapter, which isn't even a chapter, it's like 3 or 4 pages out of that book that discuss the revolution that took place on Earth.
Wow.
They took those 3 or 4 pages and turned it into that movie, I, Robot.
Wow.
If you read that whole book, do you know the woman that he's the computer psychologist
that loves the robots?
Yes.
It's all in on the robots. Yeah.
So that whole book, the 900 pages, she was actually, remember how she's very analytical, very emotionalist?
Yeah.
Because in the book, they don't explain this in the book, but they don't explain this in the movie. In the book, she was actually raised by the first robots that were created as nannies. So her first nanny caretakers, because her parents were rich, but distant. raised her. So she was raised by robots. So she becomes very, emotionally unavailable. Then she becomes a robot psychiatrist. And then that whole book is taken from an interview with her.
Wow.
So it's like I interview her, and she's like 180 years old, and she's been there from the beginning of robots. And so it does this massive interview, and that's the whole book is taken from the interview with her.
Wow.
And that iRobot is like 3 pages. She mentions it for 2 or 3 pages out of the whole book. And let's talk about an exhausting, like if you weren't locked up in prison, you'd never read this book. It was horribly it was 600 pages too long. Would have been a great 300-page book. Anyway, what I was going to say is, remember, he ends up being saved, and the 2 cars go off, and they're sinking, and he's screaming for the robot to save the child. And the robot it just calculates, I have a better chance of saving this human than that one. Even though that one had a 12% chance of being saved, and he has a 45% chance of being saved, it made the decision, this is the one I can save. There's a better chance I can save him. This one has very little chance. But a human would say, that's a child.
Yeah.
You save the child. Fuck this dude.
Right.
He's lived his life. He's 35, 40 years old. He's had a good run. You go for this one. Even if the chances are less, you try and save the child. But the robot will never know that. So
That gives me
that's
goosebumps.
right? That's a great.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the same thing you're saying. You're saying social credit score, but what if you're right? If a robot's on that track and says there's 3 people, I can swerve. I'm still going to take out 2 of them. Which one do I take out? Well, if the credit score was amazing of these 2 people and they were perfect, great people and they contributed to society, but one of them was a 12-year-old child, doesn't matter. I'm taking out the 2 adults.
Yeah.
You're going to save the child.
Unless you program it
To know that.
Yeah, but who's doing the programming? That's like the amount of power involved with programming these types of robots and systems and screening systems and social credit scores. I mean, unbelievable amount of power. And with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't see a lot of responsible power.
I love
people.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking right now is that Colby and I had a long discussion where I talked 90% of the time, 95% of the time before you got here. And it was very specific. From now on, we need to just be focusing on interviewing people about crime.
Yeah.
This is not that interview. We were looking over all of our videos, and it's like, this one didn't do any good, not related to crime. This one didn't do it, not related to crime. This one did it. Like, all these ones aren't related to crime, and you and I are having this whole conversation about AI that's not necessarily related.
But I think it's relevant because people aren't talking about this stuff yet.
Listen, I can't wait till some can't. This is a horrible thing to say, but it's true. But I shouldn't say it. Is it till some organization comes in and starts utilizing AI and really pulls off some shit? Like, that's going to be some Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible. They do stuff with the masks and different things. For the good. Yeah. But there's going to be some organization, and honestly, who it's going to be? It's going to be somebody like China, who's essentially, look, North Korea and China have organizations in the government that they're hired, and you are a full-time hacker. North Korea has an entire organization within the government of hackers that are running credit card scams on Europeans and Americans. So they are buying dumps of information, they're ordering stuff, they're putting money on cards, they have people in the United States that cash them out and send the money. And they're generating billions of dollars doing this. This is just, keep in mind, that whole country is it's a criminal organization, obviously. But, they're they're starving to death. Like that regime, a portion of that regime is being propped up, other than just stealing from its own people. It's also propped up by running illegal organizations in other countries. Not to mention, like, they have super notes that are U.S. super notes, but they can only funnel so many of those in. But imagine that at some point, they're probably already using some forms of AI to come up with scams where AI is helping them. because that's what you really need initially.
Well, because people get roped into these scams because you trigger their emotions, right?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, AI is so powerful at bringing in all this data and then putting in like everything that we do is tracked.
Right.
Everything.
What about like, have you ever heard of the Russian dating scams?
I haven't.
Okay, so Russian dating scams are where they look, predominantly they were started in Russia, like, you know, so it's probably just dating scams in general. But what they would do is they go on the free, you know, you get like a free month or so, right? So you go on and you set up an account, let's say you're in Russia. So you set up an account on Match.com, eHarmony, all of these things. And you take photographs of some girl who's, whatever, 24, 25 years old. She's cute. She's not over the top gorgeous, but she's gorgeous. And you start approaching these guys. Mm-hmm. And these people start a correspondence with these guys in semi-broken English, right? So they know something's up. They don't tell them at first, but once the guys start to really make inquiries, the girl is like, look, I actually live in Russia, you know? Like, I know I said I live in Pittsburgh, but I'm actually, you know, first they tell you I'm Russian. But then eventually they say, look, I'm actually not in Pittsburgh. I'm actually in Russia.
So they kind of like develop the relationship on the front end.
Exactly. Yeah. So they've got them, they suck them in, and then they say, look, I'm in Russia, but and then so you're going to lose some guys, but I'm actually saving money right now to come to the United States. It costs about $1,400. I've already got like $800 saved. In a couple months, I'm planning on coming. And here's what they do. So for an extra $600, $500, $400, for $400, if I give you $400 right now, you'd come.
Yeah. So the girl doesn't even ask. The guy's like, that's all you need. I'll give it to you.
Right. So, hey, no problem. And they send them $400. So then they send them a copy of their passport, the ticket they've bought. It's a real ticket. The guy can go and check. Oh, it is a real ticket. Now, he can't prove that she's on the plane, but doesn't matter. Now, here's the hook. Typically, the person calls. So you get a phone call from Russia. Mm-hmm. Very brief. Hello, Jim. Oh my gosh, I can't do Russian, but they do a whole broken. Oh, I can't believe I'm speaking to you. Oh man, that's it. Boom, that's it. It gets cut off. Then you get the email. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You know, the phone system is so bad here. Blah, blah. Doesn't matter. It's a real person.
Yeah,
it's not a bot. It's a real person. Doesn't matter. They hired some chick that makes 5 calls a day.
Right.
So she talked for 30 seconds. So now you know this is a real person. She wants to come. Boom, you send her the $400. Gets the $400, says she's on the plane. Then you go to the airport. So now you're at the airport and you get the text on your phone, I'm in passport control. Right? So like I'm in immigration. I'm coming through. They stop me because I have no money. They won't let me into the United States. I have to have $900 or $800 to get through passport, because otherwise their fear is I'm not on vacation. I won't leave. Can you send me $800? I'll give it back to you as soon as I get through. You're just on the other side of the wall. What do? The guy goes and he Western Unions $800. And then he stands there and he waits with his bouquet of flowers and he waits and he waits and he waits and she never comes.
Gone. That's brilliant.
They got you for $1,000 to $1,200, $1,400, because to an American, $400 is nothing. And imagine what a superhero you look like this to this chick. This hot little chick wants to come to the United States. She's going to come here. She's going to stay with me. And for $400, it's nothing. But once you've paid the $400, now once you're invested, you're going to pay another $8. So you easily throw the $8. Why wouldn't I? She's on the other side. I believe it. I talked to her on the phone. She flew in. I'm here. I got my flowers. This is great.
I could see how you could get roped in so easily.
Absolutely.
It's like one of our most base human needs is companionship.
Right. And for $1,000 is nothing, and you're getting the other $800 back right away.
Yeah.
As soon as she walks through the door. Wow, how cruel. And you realize that most of these things are not even reported. People are humiliated. They're embarrassed. And even if they are, What, you think the FSB is going to, you think that the FBI calls the FSB and they're going to go arrest somebody in Russia? They're like, you're ripping off Americans. I don't care about that.
Yeah, they probably know it's like under a certain threshold too, right?
Well,
like
they got
it's
it down.
under a certain amount of money.
They got it down. Not just that, the Western unions where you send the money are owned by the mob. So you just pay 20% to the mob. So these are independent contractors and the mob gets 20% to cash it. They're not getting their money back. You really sent the money. What are you going to do? Oh, I want my money back. Why? Did you file a, I was scammed. Did you file a police report? Did you think about it? They're never getting their money back. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And $1,000 in the U.S., I mean, in Russia, these people are living on $8,000 a year. That's a lot of money. You get 2 suckers a week doing that. You are rolling in money in Russia.
I would imagine it's pretty easy to scale that kind of an operation up. You know, how many guys...
They do it everywhere now. They do it in Nigeria, everywhere. But it started in Russia. It was called a Russian dating scam. Now it's everywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when it first came out, it was the Russians. So how would that work with... Now you don't even need to text the person. You can basically... Because keep in mind what they were doing. They're going out and they're sending out, let's say, 100 a day. They're fishing with 100 a day on Match.com.
Yeah.
To try and get 40 people that respond, 20 people that stay with the chat long enough, and then maybe 10 people that end up that they have to make the phone call to. 5 of those people, think about that. That's a pretty good ratio. Even if you got 1% a day that actually went through the entire scam, I mean, that's 5 to 7 a week.
It's all numbers, yeah. It's all formulas. Right. It's all numbers.
And now with ChatGPT, you don't even have to do that.
No, you could just create a chat. You can easily create and program a chatbot. It's not complicated. You could hire someone off of Upwork to program an entire chatbot.
And then you have a phone, because you understand it's not a girl. It's a 22-year-old guy.
It's Andrew Tate on the other side.
It's a guy, exactly. It's a guy you're talking to. So now you don't even need to hire the girl. You could have a Russian-sounding person make that phone call. It's just as easy to get.
It sounds so simple. It's like I got into launching and marketing with podcasts. I should have just gotten into Russian mail order brides. Like that's unbelievable.
It's not too late.
You're also preying on like these people that are like, they probably feel immensely hopeless. I just psychologically, like depression and suicides are up. Like, I don't know. I think that I would struggle with doing something like that, but I could see how easily you could get roped. Have you ever dated online? Yeah, I like to think so.
No, I know. I've heard about that. It's a problem. But yeah,
heard about those things.
But yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's horrible. But yeah, definitely. Wow, that with AI. Wow.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful. And like I was talking about emails earlier and how easily you can scrape the web. Like you can scrape the web for emails at scale, and you can pump out hundreds of thousands of emails a day.
I was gonna say, with AI, imagine you already, by the time you're actually talking with that person, when they tell you their name and, hey, can you give me your email address? Like right then they can take that, dump that back into it and realize, okay, the guy's got 2 kids. He's divorced twice. He's got a dog. He works in this. So I need to start gearing my chat toward those things so that we have common interests.
Yeah.
Now you're really falling in love. It's not just a hot little 22-year-old or 24-year-old. It's like this chick that we have a lot in common. Yeah. She loves kids. She wants to date a guy that has kids. Do you have kids? I do have 2 kids. Oh my gosh. Are they teenagers? Teenagers are just the best. I do have teenagers. What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. And you could filter that automatically with tagging and sequencing. Say, okay, this person's into dogs and kids. And then I'm going to send them a picture of me with my dog and kids. And then you could have an entire profile set up. You could have all these fake people. How much of the internet do you think is just fake people and fake bots? Like when Elon bought Twitter for $53 million, he purged, I heard, up to 80% of the platform because it was fake bots. Like,
it's horrible.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I just wonder, now it's this point where you've got bots following bots, liking on other bots. It's just like, it's a complete mess.
Do you ever get the bot texts?
Sure.
Where they're like, hey, Jim, did you get the package? Or whatever. And it's, to me, even then, I'm always like, I'm not Jim. Please leave me alone. Like, even though it's a bot, I still answer. I'm still like, I'm still polite and nice. I'm like, listen, I'm not interested. No, you're a bot. Stop it.
I got an email just this week from quote unquote Meta. It said, hey, your account's been suspended for a copyright strike. Please click this link to appeal. Don't ever click a link online
Right.
that where you don't know where it's from. Never, ever, ever. That's how many people have lost their Bitcoin wallets, their crypto wallets, because they click on a link, hacker gets in, all of a sudden they're into your MetaMask, they're into all of your crypto. You ain't never getting your crypto back.
Well, what about the Vegas thing where they said was it Caesars that they shut down? Who was it they shut down?
Yeah.
Was it Caesars or was it
I don't know which one it was, but
one of them paid, one of them didn't. One of them said, "Fuck you," and they were like, "Oh, okay, boom, we're shutting everything down." Now they wish they'd paid.
Yeah, but if you pay, doesn't that just create the incentive structure that we're going to keep?
Maybe, but the other one did pay, and they left them alone. Like they negotiated. They said, "We want $8 million." Let's talk about this, and they negotiated it down to, let's say, $6 million.
Yeah,
and they paid them, and everything was fine. The other company that came in, whoever it was, they said, "Oh, we're not going to do that. Fuck you." And they went, "Okay, watch this. Boom, guarantee." They did such damage to them, and how much money they were losing every single day as a result of that. Yeah. I promise you, next time they pay.
Maybe, but it's like when you're getting bullied in school, the best way not to get bullied is to be difficult to bully. Like you punch back, you know what I mean? If you just let kids bully you every day, they're going to keep coming back for more. You know, I don't know. I can't.
No, I agree with you, but I mean, this is I see what you're saying, but when you have
because you're draining millions of dollars daily.
Yeah, I was going to say when you've got a board of directors, it's more like, hey, let's just make it super difficult for them next time.
Yeah,
you know. So let's see if this is possible. Let's have a backup system just in case. Like they'll probably make it as difficult as possible, but at some point, and I'm sure that they must have shown them something like, hey, look, we're going to do something. It's going to be about 5 minutes. It's going to be a problem for you. We're going to turn everything back on. Otherwise, we're shutting your system down. So I'm sure they showed them. So if they make it, so I'm sure that they'll go back, fix whatever problem that is, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
But most of those things happen as a result of just like social engineering. You know, it's not because, most hacks are not as a result of somebody getting in the system. You know, it's not like a swordfish. You know, I've got this special code and I'm downloading it and I've got them. I'm in. You know, it's more like, they call customer service and then they say, "I'm so-and-so and I work here and can you fight, but for some reason I'm locked out of this. Can you forward me to Jim so-and-so?" Sure. They forward the call or the email. Next thing you know, it's Jim's like, "Oh, hey, Bob. Yeah, I know. Hey, how's it going?" And he thinks he's Bob. And yeah, man, I have locked out of the system. Can you give me reset my passcode? Yeah, no problem. I understand.
Right.
Really, it's some guy in North Korea.
Right.
And next thing you know, boom, he's now in the system and he's got access to $50 million and he starts siphoning off the money over the next 2 days or 3 days and you don't catch it till a couple million's gone. And you're like, "Oh my God, they hacked us." Did they really hacking?
Well, how often does that happen in regular businesses? You say, "I'll cut this little corner here because I don't want to have to go through all the systems and the bureaucratic
all the different things I'm supposed to do." Well, technically I'm, the manual says I'm supposed to call so-and-so and do a system reset of, fuck it, bro. Use my code. It's 5502.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's Jim. He's right down. Look, I say, "Hey, Jim. Hey."
Yeah.
Jim's talking to somebody else on the phone. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm like a nerd or whatever, but I always hate cutting those corners for that reason. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's responsible for the entire system imploding.
You got to get another job.
Like at schools, for example, with all these school shootings that are happening, there's all these different regulations that are being put into place. And one of those would be like, you can only go in and out of this one door, teachers only in and out of this one door, and never leave the back door open. Teachers like, my car's right out there. Nothing's going to happen. I'll just keep the door propped with this rock for a few minutes. Then boom, it only takes one time that you break that regulation where the wrong person gets in the back door.
Did you see there's actually a TikTok with Julian. He's got Jim. He's got a buddy named Jim, or the guy that's been on his show. He's a retired FBI agent, where he goes to like a prep school, like a super like top shelf prep school, and is able to walk right in. And the security guard, they stop him. He's like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm with such and such, and I'm checking out the prep school for my kid." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, go on in." And he just walks right in. He said, "I sounded confident. He believed me. He didn't check. Boom, I'll walk right in." He's like, "I'm a grown man walking through a school unattended, Like that should not have happened. Like I'm walking through a middle school right now.
Yeah.
I could, who knows?
Well, I think that's because most people don't walk around with their antennas up. They're not like hyper focused.
They're just not looking for fraud.
Right.
They're not. Here's what I always tell people when they're like, well, how did we stop this? How do we? Well, you have to realize that you have to think foremost, this could be fraud. You don't have to be rude or anything, but you do have to think fraud's a possibility. And what I always noticed when I would walk into a bank, if something didn't seem right and it showed up on their system, what they didn't think was fraud, even if it said fraud alert. Like, and what happens is you pull your credit. For instance, the problem is you do see fraud alerts. For instance, let's say I pulled your credit. Even if I pull your credit and I'm at Bank of America and I pull your credit, not that the people in the bank actually ever see your credit, but let's assume that somebody does see your credit and they pull let's say you're a mortgage broker and I pull your credit right then, it shows up. It's going to say fraud alert on yours because the problem is at some point, somebody has pulled you have applied for something and it has said, like, I don't know what your middle name is. Let's say it's, Ralph, Mark R. Savant. And then there's going to be another one where it's going to be Ralph Savant, or it's going to be, and then, so right now, guess what? That's an alias. You now have an alias alert. And it's going to say fraud alert, alias, and it's going to have two different versions of your name. Now, the person, me, who pulled it, they're going to, okay, that's not a big deal. I know, I understand the problem. The other thing is every time you've moved, fraud alert, multiple addresses.
Wow.
He's using different, fraud alert, multiple, and they're going to be like, yeah, I understand, but he said he lives here, and this address, last time it was pulled was 2 years ago, and this is a new address, so that's fine. They swipe it, no big deal. What happens is people are programmed to look for an explanation.
Interesting,
so if something is wrong on a W-2 or a pay stub or your bank statement or something you've said, instead of going, oh, okay, hold on a second, or making a note, okay, okay, I understand, and making a note and continuing, and then going and saying, hey, I'm going to go talk to my manager real quick to see about something, and walking off and saying, listen, this is what the guy just told me. This doesn't make sense. And here's what he gave me. Look at his W-2.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that, what they do instead is they say, oh, I don't understand. Your W-2 says this. You said this, but that's not what your pay stub says. That gives you an opportunity
to give an explanation.
And
people are probably looking for an explanation.
As a broker or a loan officer, I want an explanation. Like I don't make any money if I catch someone committing fraud. I don't even get an attaboy. So what I always say is like, you really should incentivize, like, cause I'll do the like cyber conferences and stuff where I do like keynote speaking, and they'll say, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, you have to incentivize people where it's like, look, every time your employee, if that loan goes through, he might make $100 or he might make, $3,500. So you have to incentivize him to catch the fraud, even if it's a quick $100. Like, hey, boom, we went back, we checked this. Yeah, no, it's fraud. This guy's committing fraud right now. We just called his bank. These are fake. We just called here. This is fake. We called his employer. The guy's been working there for a month.
Yeah.
He said 2 years, and he gave us two W-2s that are not from them. So you just caught fraud. Great. Attaboy. Then people would start looking.
Be more vigilant. Right. Yeah, you got to look at like, what's it costing us in fraud? How much is walking out the door?
Anything, even especially if it doesn't have to be like the equivalent of what I would have gotten had that gone through.
It probably even deters fraudsters from actually going through your bank if they know, hey, they have an incentive program to actually catch fraudsters and rope them up, and they'll prosecute heavily.
Right.
I mean, you're seeing a lot of retail outlets don't even bother with shoplifting anymore because they're afraid of the bad press on the back end.
Bad press, it's insane. Like you see the stuff in California and Chicago, and it's insane.
I was watching, I think it was a CNN interview. They were in, I think it was a Walgreens, and while they were doing the 30-minute interview, they watched 3 people walk out the door without paying.
They're like, did they? Yeah. They're like, did they? They're like, no, they just. No.
That's great. There was another guy in, I think it was California, it might have been Washington. They have a rule where they won't prosecute any shoplifting that's under $1,000.
Right.
So he marked everything in the store at $1,001 and then just gave coupons at the front counter so they could still prosecute you. That's amazing. That's just unbelievable. I actually worked in loss prevention at Target. This is years ago. And They don't do this anymore, by the way. Loss prevention, you had like a security suit on. They even gave us handcuffs too. And then our job was to go up and find people who were shoplifting at the front and say, oh, you forgot to ring up this TV that's underneath the cart or whatever. Right. Some people did not like getting their receipts checked, by the way, but that's what we did. But I remember the first day on the job, we had an undercover guy who's ex-military. His name was Dorian. This guy was really, really intense. It's my first day on the job. I'm like, I'm just here to collect my $12 an hour or whatever. He's a super intense dude. And I remember him giving me a call on the radio. He goes, yo, Mark, I need you to hop in.
We've got one.
We got a hot one. I need you to hop into the CCTV room. So I hop in the CCTV room and I'm looking. He's like, there's a guy here in menswear. He's stuffing underwear down his shirt. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. I got him. Because we have to record it. We got it. And he's following him around the store. This guy's like, he's like a homeless guy. He's putting like, t-shirts and underwear and shirts. He's like, all right, okay. Oh, it looks like he's going to head out garden now. I need you to run out there. So I'm sprinting outside down to garden where the back exit is. And he's on the radio. He's like, okay, he's passing the palm trees. He's passing the mulch. All right, he's coming. He's getting ready to walk out. Get ready. So this guy walks out and he says, no, Mark, no. I pop out and go, I go, sir. And then this guy, Dorian, he comes running behind him and tackles him from behind. All of a sudden, this is my first day.
Time.
All of a sudden, we're in a skirmish with this guy on the ground. We're cuffing him up, and it's over like, it's over like a couple $100 of worth of menswear. This is my first day on the job. I'm like, holy cow. But to your point, there's no way you're doing this anymore. No way.
No.
Yeah, there was this guy on TikTok who did, he was like Home Depot asset protection or whatever, and he would snatch these people at the door, like chase them down, grab their stuff, and he would make he would record the security footage, and he would record it like his highlight tape. He'd like, he's coming in, like, boom, got him, like he's trying to run, and then eventually they like let him go.
Yeah, they'll fire him,
It was like his thing was viral. It was like, look at this, like I tackled him, like. It's like literally like this little highlight tape that he's recording as security footage.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just such a weird time. It really is. It's just weird.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to find the gotcha moments. Like even in that New York subway where there's the dude is like walking around, he's like threatening to stab people. And then the military vet Daniel Penny tackles him, brings him to the floor with 3 other people because he's threatening to murder and kill people. Right. And now
he's got a knife.
Yeah, he's got a knife. And now Daniel Penny is being, I don't know if he had a knife at the time or not, but he was threatening. At the very least, fact check me. He was at least threatening to hurt people. Daniel Penny and 3 other people, one of which at least was a black man, end up bringing this guy down, subduing him. During the course of it, the guy ended up dying. And now Daniel Penny is he's being accused of like manslaughter, and he's going to get roped up, maybe go to prison for trying to protect subway passengers. Mind you, after this happened, all the subway passengers were clapping. They're like, thank you. We're so appreciative. Doesn't matter. White man, black victim. I'm going to use the word victim, although I don't know that, black perpetrator, whatever. Huge news story. And it's just so backwards to me. Like, why would I ever stick my neck out for anyone
somebody
else?
No.
Why would I ever?
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, I don't live in my house, so there's just no reason to anyway.
Well, I guess it's Daniel Penny's not going to have to do it next time because you've got robots inside New York City subways that'll do it for you. And
I got to see the robots. I don't understand what the robots are like. What they don't like. What do they look like?
It right now it looks like a big garbage can. It looks like R2D2. So it's not. It's just going to be going around getting video. But I mean, that's just the first amalgamation. I mean, pretty soon they're going to be shooting tear gas and all kinds of gnarly stuff, man. It's gonna get weird. I got to talk about another thing though, that this is not a fraud, but to me, it's going to be one of the most damaging things to young people. It's deep fakes. We talked about deep fake a little bit. Do you have kids?
Me?
Yeah.
I do, but yeah.
So I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and I can see her going to school and having this happening to her. So there's a famous Twitch streamer. His name is Atrioc, and he was live on stream, and some people noticed that there were some deep fake on his screen, and this deep fake was of these other very famous Twitch streamers: Sweet Anita, Maya Higa, QT Cinderella. These are Twitch streamers. They're not actresses.
Right.
But what is happening is
They're
these
putting their faces
putting their face on,
right.
and it's not hard to do. This is like pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. I downloaded that app where you could put my face on, like, Brad Pitt when he's fighting with, in Troy, where he runs up and stabs the other guy, and I'm standing there, I'm all buff like Brad Pitt in my face, and I did a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually did Tommy. I put Tommy on like some woman's face and sent it to him. He got all irritated and upset about it.
Yeah, MSCS media. Shout out to Tommy. Tommy's a good dude.
He's hilarious.
But how, like, I got a 7-year-old daughter. Like, imagine she's 13, 14 years old. She comes into school. It's after summer break. She just broke up with her boyfriend. And the boyfriend's like, I'll show that. I'll show that. And then he deepfakes he sends it out to everyone at school. Her reputation, like, especially a young kid, like, I don't know about you, like, nowadays, like, whatever. You want to talk bad about me on the internet, I don't care. But if you're 13, that's like your entire life.
So the problem with that is now that is like dissemination of, even if the actress is, 20 something years old, you put her face on it. I was in prison with a guy that got, I want to say 3 or 4, he got the mandatory minimum. I want to say it was 4 years. Because he had downloaded manga. Like manga, like the cartoons, the Japanese cartoons. Because the law says the way it's written is images. Doesn't say photographs, doesn't say film, it's images of underage. And what happened was he had been chatting with someone in a manga. So manga, a lot of these guys have some issues, right? That's a big pull because a lot of it is they have these underage girls in manga, that Japanese girls. So this guy's on a site where he's talking about trading manga, and there was the FBI they stay in those sites to pick up guys that are looking for underage girls. Yeah. And so this guy's talking, he ends up talking to an FBI agent, and the FBI agent's talking about trading this manga, series and this one. Have you ever read this? And they're having a conversation. And the guy says, hey, by the way, have you ever seen this manga? It's like and the guy's like, no, I've never seen that. He's like, yeah, you ought to get it. Wow. And so he's like, yeah, I'm not really interested. So they go back and forth. The guy mentions it several times. Then he says, I'm telling you, it is amazing. You have to see this. It's really amazing. And so the guy's like, it was like $9. So he pays $9 or whatever it is, and the guy sends it, and it's a little 5-minute. But what it is it's a couple of Yakuza pull up in like a van, and they kidnap a Japanese schoolgirl who's clearly 13, 14 years old. And it's cartoon. Bring her somewhere, tie her up, abuse her, and then drop her off. Well, he downloaded it. It's on his computer. He watched it. The FBI shows up. They indict him and show up a few days later. They indict him.
And the FBI agent actually sent him.
Yeah, sent him to. Oh, that's not. They do that all the time. But the way the law reads is that it's possession. You don't even have to necessarily have watched it if you just possess it on your computer. But this guy watched it, so he watched it. He possessed it. So he was like, they were like, look, plead guilty. You don't have to go to jail. He's like, are you out of your mind? He's like, I'm going to trial. He goes to trial. He loses. He gets 4 years. He was in Coleman. There's multiple guys. Like there's a guy the same thing. There was a guy, we called him, and I know I've told this story before. His name was, oh God, no, I don't know his name, but they called him Harry Potter. He played ping pong all the time. He was amazing, but he looked just like Harry Potter. So but he's probably 22, 23 years old. He got, I want to say he got a chunk of time. Maybe it was, I'm probably wrong. I'm going to say 6 or 7 years. I'm probably wrong. At the very least, he got 4 years because that was like the mandatory minimum. Yeah. What he did was he had been dating a girl, started dating her when he was 14 or 15 years old. They were having sex. At some point, he's like 19 and she's 18 or something. He finds out she's cheating on him with one of his good friends. The kid, who's now 19 or so, is infuriated with his girlfriend. And what does he do? He starts sending out, I don't know if it was pictures or video, but he starts shooting out, let's say photographs, naked photographs of his, at the time, 14 or 15-year-old girlfriend that he was having sex with at the time, he's also young, starts shooting out these photographs. Well, the mom finds out, or a friend of a friend, eventually they all find out, the mom finds out, the mom contacts the authorities, the local cops or whoever are saying, well, this is within our wheelhouse because it's over the internet. They contact the FBI, FBI comes in, they indict the kid. He says, what are you talking about? I want to say he might have gone to trial. He's like, wait, there's pictures of me and my girlfriend. They're like, yeah, but you're 19 years old and this is. He fights. So he says, I want to say he went to trial, but he may not have. He may have just taken a plea. Whatever it was, he ends up getting, and once again, I'm not positive. I think it was like 6 years. He ends up getting like 6 years. He played ping pong for,
So he was sharing,
years.
Just so I'm clear on what he's doing here. When he was in the romantic relationship with this girl, they were both minors.
Yes.
Right. But he had pictures of her nude that he shared out.
I mean, having sex. They're having sex.
Right.
Now we're talking about like photographs of him and his girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
But now he's 19 or 20.
Yeah. But you're still distributing video of a minor with intent to harm that person, right?
I agree. But in his mind, because there is no intent attached to that crime.
Well, the intent is to do damage to her,
No,
right?
I'm saying when they write you. So a lot of crimes, you have to have the intent to do something, right?
Okay.
So with that crime, there's no intent. It's like saying, like you simply have it on your computer. You can say, yeah, but I never looked at it, or I downloaded it and I didn't know what it was and I never looked at it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You have possession of it. You're going to jail. Yeah, but my intent wasn't to download this.
Yeah.
Listen, I know guys. I know a guy that was locked up, and I actually saw his paperwork. He went to someone and was asking to buy dumps of information for credit cards, and the FBI agent that he stumbled upon in this dark web that he was trying to disseminate. Hey, do you want to buy this? I don't have that, but I have this. And he's like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, but I have this. He's like, I'm not interested in that. Eventually, the FBI agent comes along. He says, look. Here's what I can do. I can give you the credit card information you want, and I'll go ahead and I'll throw in some videos too. Some videos of movies and this and that, and he sticks in a video of child pornography.
Just trying to like upsell almost.
And so the guy downloads it, and they come and they indict him, and they grab his computer, and guess what? You have child pornography on your computer. And he says, yeah, I know, but when I actually did click on it, and I watched it for like a second or something, I realized it, I turned it off. And they're like, yeah, we understand, but you possess it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my intent was not to download it. He put it in there. Like I didn't even know it was in there. It was just random movies.
Isn't that entrapment though?
It is entrapment. Entrapment is not a defense in the federal system.
Wow.
And guess what? I was locked up with him. He went to prison. I mean, he went to prison for it.
Wow.
And and his lawyer was like, "Look, what do you want to do? Do you want to go in front of a jury and explain to a jury?" Hey, I just was trying to download your credit card information so I could run up your credit cards. And so they're going to, that's what you have to do. You have to get on the stand and say, I'm a credit card thief and I do credit cards and these guys stuck this in here and I'm not guilty of that. They're willing to give you 4 years. But if you go to trial, then they're going to hit you for every image that made up that entire film. You could get 34. You can get hundreds of years. But they most likely would give them like 15 or 20.
See, it doesn't seem like the right way to actually fight child trafficking.
To me, that's not child trafficking. Child trafficking is you grabbed a child.
Right.
I'm not saying that guys that look at that intentionally aren't perverts and weirdos, but I'm saying that things like what we're talking about, taking an image and putting it on there, like.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like disseminating that, they'll look at like people think, oh, you're ruining her reputation. Listen, it's worse than that. This guy, you can like, it's not just ruining your daughter's reputation. That's prison time. Like you don't understand what you've just done. Like that's serious. It's more serious than my daughter's being made fun of from her classmates. Way more serious.
Yeah, you could be go to prison, especially if you're over 18, I guess.
Right. So that's a serious issue.
I wonder if that's how it's going to end up getting litigated in the future, because this is definitely going to become a problem. There's definitely going to be.
I think based on the law, it would be.
Yeah.
Especially keep in mind too, like so it's not.
You know what's crazy to me is kids do dumb things. 18-year-olds do some really stupid things without thinking. Like, she broke up with me. I hate her. I'll show her.
That's exact. Like they're not thinking clearly. That's not. You're not thinking. A grown man would go, "I'm angry. I'm upset," but that would be really over the top. Like that wouldn't be proportionate to what's happened. I definitely. And what's so funny too is people don't realize, like, it depends on the prosecutor. One prosecutor would look at that and be like, "Come on, man, the guy sent that. He's a jerk. Did you scare him? Is he scared? Okay, let's scare him a little bit." But that's it. I'm not sending this kid to prison for 4 years. Like, I have to send him 4 years. I can't do it for 6 months. I can't even give him probation. He's got to go to prison based on the law. He either goes to jail for 4 years or he gets nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not sending him to prison for 4 years. Is he an asshole? He's an asshole. But I'm not going to send him to prison. He didn't realize what he was doing. So, but other prosecutors will say, "That's it. How many photographs? He's getting 12 years." And they'd be like, "What are you talking about? He made a mistake. He's an idiot."
Well, I think what there needs to be is established, clear penalties that are transparent, like, so that when that high school kid says, "Hey, I'm going to show Teresa a thing or two," his boy will say, "Yeah, that's 5 to 10. I wouldn't do that," because I think right now, with again all these different AI scams and crimes that are popping up, like, it's not clear what's right, what's copyright free, what's okay, what's not okay, or what's going to get you federal time versus civil.
I was going to say what they should do, which they'll never do. First of all, just in high school or junior high and high school, they should teach a class on just let's face it, credit, finance. Which they don't, unless it's a private school. The other thing is, it would be amazing if you taught like the federal a class on federal sentencing guidelines on just the law.
Wow,
it would terrify people if they were like, "What are you saying?" So no, you don't understand. I'm not a drug trafficker. Like you can't give me 20 years. I'm not a drug trafficker. Well, you're selling marijuana. Yeah, but I only sell dime bags. How often do you sell them? How long have you been doing? Well, I sell a little here, a little there. Okay, right. Let's add that up. Okay, so far in the last 2 years, you do a little here, a little there. So far in the last 2 years, okay, you're up to you've sold 50 pounds of weed. No, I only sell. Add it up. You add it up, and they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, but that's over 2 years." It doesn't matter how long the conspiracy has been going on. You've sold 20 pounds or 50 pounds or however many pounds of weed. And based on the guidelines, here's where you stand. And guess what? You're going to do 5 years. What? Like, people don't realize that. When everybody I've ever met who sells drugs, when they get arrested for selling drugs and they tell them the amount, how many pounds they've sold or kilos, they're always like, "I've never seen that much in my life." No, you haven't. Not at one time.
Yeah.
And not just that, guess what? The guy who wore a wire on you, he's going to say, what they do is this. They end up getting you to sell more and more. Okay, so first it's, you buy whatever, an eighth of a key, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, "Bro, can you get me half a key?" "Yeah, I can get you half a key." "Cool, bro, cool. Now you get this half a key. How much what would it cost if I bought a whole key? I want a whole key because I want a discount."
Right.
And you say, "Okay, well, it's going to take me a little bit of time, but I can get it." Well, now the guy that's going to get on a stand, I bought keys, I bought half keys. I've been buying from this guy for
months,
or years.
Wow.
Like, I got pinched after I've been buying from him for years, and he's going to lie to the prosecutor and say, "Oh, I've been buying half a key every week or two," because he wants to make you sound like a big fish so he gets time off of his sentence. Like, I got a guy who's moving a couple keys a month. The truth is, this guy's moving a quarter of a key a month at best.
Right.
But you're relying on this person. We want to be able to tell the jury he's a big fish. He goes to trial. Either you plead guilty to 20 or 30 keys of cocaine, or you go to trial and we'll instead of you taking 10 years, you're going to get 30. And this guy will get on the stand, and we have you cold. We've got you on wire. We've got you on video. You're done.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you taught that in the school system, kids would go, "That can't be right." Like, no, you want me to list I'll get 4 guys in here right now. You can show them a video of guys going, I'm doing 20 years. Yeah, I was a 19-year-old. Here's what I was doing. Boom, I got 20 years. Hey, I'm so-and-so. This is what I was doing. But when I got into court, this is how they added it up, and this is what I was looking at. Here's the sentencing guidelines. This is where I fell right here. Guess what? That's a 30-year sentence. I got lucky. I was able to cooperate. They gave me 19 years.
It's like a Ponzi scheme because now you have to go wrap in the next person,
Absolutely.
who wraps in the next person. Who wraps
Well, the whole
in the next
system's based on that. If you wouldn't give cooperation, then the entire system would break down or you'd have to say, hey, we're not going to prosecute any crimes under this. And you see what happens when they do that. So people are like, well, they shouldn't do that. Yeah, I know. But if you don't, then you see what happens. Then you end up having shoplifters come in and buy and steal everything under $1,000.
Right.
Same thing with drugs. I only move this much. Why? Because if you add it up, it never amounts to more than this. So I can do this all day long.
Wow. Yeah.
You know? Or you say, hey, don't make drugs illegal at all. Just make them completely legal and let Pfizer, put them out and you get a prescription and that's it. And we dump all that money in law enforcement and prisons and we dump it into drug rehabs.
I would definitely be more in line with that. I mean, that makes more sense to me.
That makes sense to me. That's the way to go.
Yeah, the fact that, what is it, a class, I can't remember, a Schedule D drug or whatever, like marijuana being like one of the worst drugs in the world. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like, nobody really believes that.
No, it's so stupid.
It's just a way of roping people into these huge
and all of it is they're all just sound bites to get elected.
Yeah.
Those laws all ended up being put into the system and voted into law because it sounded good.
Yeah, and nobody wants to be the person to end the criminalization of marijuana.
No, because somebody's going to kill somebody or do this or do that, and they're going to blame you, and they don't want to be that guy because they want to get reelected.
Yeah.
The way to do that is to say, hey, guess what? You can only run for 3 terms, even in Congress.
Yeah,
we don't have any more career politicians.
Psychedelics are another thing I think that are picking up a lot of steam, big money. I was actually talking to Paul Hutchinson. He's the executive producer for the Sound of Freedom movie. He's a billionaire real estate investor. His character was in the movie.
Okay.
But we were talking about how to stop child trafficking. He said, well, you need to kill the demand. I'm like, how the hell do you do that, right? And he said, well, there's some really good evidence coming out that psychedelics used in a very strategic way,
microdosing, right?
Exactly, can actually kill or rewire the neurology in the brain. It can start creating new neurologic pathways that prevent that sort of desire. And I was like, wow, like a minute ago we were talking about tithing and reading the Bible. Now you're talking about psychedelics to solve these weird brain issues. And yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that all this stuff gets roped in with serious narcotics is silly.
No, I know. I mean, it's so stupid. There's so many things that just absolutely don't make sense. It's just in the world in general, let alone the United States and the laws and the court structure. Like, I've had these conversations where people are like, oh, well, the court system and it's a corrupt system and it's this and it's that. And, it's actually a pretty reasonable system. But the people that run the system are humans.
Yeah.
And humans are corrupt and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to overreach and they're going to do, anytime you can design a perfect system, you probably can't. But let's just say you could design a perfect system. Well, the moment you say, okay, and now I'm going to give it to these humans to run, well, now we have a problem. They're manipulative and they're corrupt and they're going to make mistakes and they're lazy and they're stupid and they like I said, they overreach. And so that's a problem. It's kind of like, and it's the same thing. I've mentioned this before on podcasts where it's like some of this ridiculous. Like it's like 85% of sex offenders admit that they were sexually molested as children. So it's like, wow, like you were created. Like it's sad. They're victims first. And my heart goes out to them, but now you're a monster.
Yeah, you can't perpetrate. And that was kind of Paul's point. He brought up
it's sad, in
psychedelics as being a way of trying to prevent that.
Lions are cute puppies. I mean, they're cute when they're babies and you can play with them, but then they grow up and they're lions and you can't let monsters roam the countryside. Like, these were little kids that were innocent once and someone destroyed them and now they're destroying people. Well, and it's like, oh, but this happened to me and I'm a victim. Yeah, I know, but now you got to go to prison, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
There's no excuse. The behavior can't.
Because there's tons of people that go through horrific things as children that didn't end up being a monster.
Yeah.
You were already, some kind of programming wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
And you just can't be out here anymore. So it's like, I feel bad for you, but you can't be out here, bro. You got to go.
Yeah.
You're a weirdo.
For sure.
You're doing weird stuff.
I mean, I hope I'm cautiously optimistic about the United States getting this stuff under control. There's a lot of fears. Like,
what's amazing is how bad is it other places?
Oh man, I wouldn't want to be anywhere
Horrific.
else. I wouldn't.
No.
People are always talking about, oh, well, over here, over there. Like, I don't
bro.
necessarily buy that. It's kind of funny. We see like gays for Palestine, and you're like, do you know what it'd be like for you if you were there?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, check it out.
Go. I will buy the plane ticket, bro.
Drink a margarita on the beach. It's not. Yeah.
Document it. Put it on TikTok. Let everybody know. I guarantee you only have to send over 4 or 5 of them. And when those videos come back and hit the internet, they're gonna go, oh yeah, no, we're good. I'm not going. I'm good. It's good here.
I think so.
It's good. Listen, you get out of prison, and I mean everything that everybody out here bitches about. I love it out here. Like there's other than just the insanity of just people are just kind of idiots. Like life is good out here. At its worst, it's pretty good. It's like, it's like pizza. Even bad pizza is pretty good. And that's,
even with pineapple on it.
Yeah, I love right. We're talking about. I love pineapple. I love Hawaiian pizza, right? Remember that came out?
Oh yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. As long as we can keep like the innocent until proven guilty, I think we'll be okay. Although what's happening to Russell Brand right now, like he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. I'm not saying that he did or didn't. I don't know, but
just
like
an accusation.
Demonetizing him. I can't remember the country. I want to say it was England. One of these countries actually tried to get him demonetized on Rumble. They said, hey, we kind of suggest that, do you really want people like this on your platform generating income? He's just been accused.
Yeah. That's what's amazing is that all you need is an accusation. And people will blatantly lie. People have no problem just blatantly lying just because they think, oh, well, I'm justified. You're justified? Like that's not justified. That's disgusting. Like the person that is accused of that, and the problem is there's never any recourse. It's like that guy, remember the high school student that was accused of rape? Some girl accused him of rape. He went to prison for rape. And then he got out. And when he got out, she actually hit him up on Facebook.
Wow.
And admits on Facebook she made it up.
And so what? There is no recourse for that?
No. So she did it. She said she did it so they could sue the school board because she had seen where another girl tried to sue the school board, but the rape happened off of school, outside of school. So she knew she had to say that it happened in school. So she came up with a scenario where she said that they got into an elevator and he attacked her or whatever in school, on school grounds, and she knew to say that, and she accused him. So he then was like, look, it's not a big deal. It's over. I want to move on. And so she's flirting she's like, plus you were the high school, like you were a big time star. And, and I knew I'd get some cachet from that. So he plays up to her, gets her to come over and brings the conversation up again. But this time he videos it.
Wow. Yeah.
So it ends up getting expunged, right? Like he brings it back and shows the videotape, and he gets his criminal record expunged. But he also did like 7 to 10 years.
Yeah,
or something like that. And she gets nothing. By the way, nothing happens to her.
Just, from beginning to end, we're talking about incentive structures.
Yeah.
And like, you cannot be falsely accusing, because you know what that does also? It's the boy who cried wolf, or in this case, the girl who cried wolf.
Right.
The more time you're crying wolf, people start to not even regard the actual real crime that's happening. Rape, horrible, horrible, horrible thing, right? But if everyone over here is saying rape, 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 and it's not rape, when it actually does happen, everyone's going to be, their ears going to be closed.
Right.
And that is, I mean, believe all women actually hurts women tremendously.
Yeah.
I think, shocking. Well, now that we've completely scared everyone.
So now that we're completely demonetized, like, I mean, we've mentioned rape. Colby's like, we've mentioned rape. He's going to be like, bleep, 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 bleep. who knows what else, we can mention. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done me a real favor here, by the way. Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm glad to be here to speak to the great Matt Cox. And yeah. Hopefully we can, hopefully we're just raising alarm so that people are aware. That
Do you want to talk about anything for your channel?
I mean, all this stuff is, is like, listen.
But your channel is about entrepreneurs.
But, listen, what I like to cover is disruption. Okay. How is the world being disrupted? And quite frankly, once I start going down the rabbit hole of AI and the implications of AI, it's clear to me that it changes every single life across the board, professionally, personally, and quite frankly, being aware of the new scams, I think, is really important to me. I know everyone is going to DM me and everyone's going to leave comments like, "Oh, Mark, that's old news. I already knew about it." Yeah, but there are people that don't know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't know.
Well, there's the comment section is, it's like Danny says, it's a cesspool.
You know what's interesting to me? There's a lot of people that say they want to be like big YouTubers and whatnot. If you're not getting hate, you're not going hard enough.
I love that whatever meme or TikTok or whatever you call it is where the person says, "Look, if you're hating on me, but you're watching all my stuff, you're a fan."
Right.
That's true. Like I got people in the comment section that almost every single video say something negative.
Yeah.
You're watching the videos though. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. And if people aren't upset by what you're saying, you're probably not.
Right. Yeah. You have to be offending somebody.
You have to. Yeah, you have to be. And it's not because I go out with the intent of offending people.
Yeah. Some people are just going to be offended no matter what you say.
You could be offended about anything. I could see your chair over and be like, "Man, my dad fell and broke his back in a chair."
Listen, bro, I used to have Trump paintings up here.
Oh, he's not offensive.
Listen, people would go nuts. Yeah. I'm unsubscribing. I was like, oh my God. Jessica Kent came. She's like, "Could you take the Trump painting down?" I was like, "Of course, no problem." I took it down. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, it's a big seller. I'm good." But yeah, people will get offended about anything. People will be offended because of what the conversation part of the conversation we just had. They'll be offended by it.
Oh, for sure.
Just because just because I said, "Look, those people are victims at one point." You scumbag! Truth offends people at for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, I still, just like you said though, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's happened to you. What matters is what are the actions that you've taken. And
no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, I get it, but now you're a monster. Like it's like a serial killer. It's like, okay, well, I had a bad childhood and I get it and I feel for you and I'm sorry, but you're cutting people's heads off. Like, it's not right. Yeah. You can't be doing that. What are you doing? You got to go to prison. No, you don't understand. My mom was mean to me and I feel for you. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Bad mom. You did cut off 12 people's heads.
Life is, at the end of the day, life is suffering. Everyone has something.
Right.
It's like whenever you walk into a big room, you're always worried about that when you get that insecure feeling. I know that every single other person in the room has something.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, my hair is not right. I've got some gray hair coming in. Nobody cares. Like, I don't know. I was talking to someone the other day who was launching a podcast and she's like, "Do you have any advice for me?" And I'm saying, big piece of advice. If you're doing your job right, based on what you want to do, you want to have a big show, you want people to follow you. Based on your goals, just be aware that people are they're going to piss on you. People are not, they're going to get angry. They're going to send you hate. You got to be ready now because I was telling this to my daughter my daughter got a bad grade on a test and she made this comment. She said, "I'm so stupid." She's 7. I said, stop it. Stop it right there. I could take her into the bathroom. I said, "Look in the mirror." And I said, "I want you to say this after me. I am great. I am powerful. I'm a bad mamma jamma." And at first she was laughing. She's like, "Oh, yeah, that's funny." And I said it again. And I said it again. And then she started to say it with me. And because if there's one thing I can do with my daughter, it's instill that sense of self-confidence. Because the world, especially this world that we're looking at, is going to dump on you all day, every day.
Yeah.
And if you're not strong in here, you're gonna be dead. You're gonna be weak, and I don't want that for her. I don't want that for my kids. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say the podcast thing. Yeah, it's rough, but the great thing about even if you put out a shitty, even if your first 6 months of podcast are just dog shit, nobody's watching. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I'm like, what does it matter? Nobody's watching. You're gonna shoot the link to 15 of your friends. You're gonna ask them to share the link. They're not going to. You're gonna know that they didn't because you're only gonna have. You're gonna know that. Sorry, you're gonna know that they didn't because you're only gonna get 20 views.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So your 15 friends, only a couple of them even sent it anywhere.
Right.
You know, so then nobody watched it. Nobody's watching. Your friends aren't even going to watch it. You know, so the truth is you can be as bad as you want. And if you start it and you're horrible, you got to look at that as actually a good thing. Because then if you can go all the way back to the first videos that I did and you can see the progression. And people want that. If you do end up being successful, then leave those old fucked up videos up.
Hell yeah.
Because they'll go back, they'll be like, oh man, you could look at this one, you kept looking at your notes. Look at this one, look at all the edits. They're horrible, bro. You don't know what you're doing. Look at that. You know, that's great. That's fine. Like that's okay. People wanna root for you. They want to see that you get better over time.
Yeah.
So put them up. The biggest thing is to put them up, right? Even if they're shitty, put up the shitty videos.
Yeah, when I look at my stuff from even a year ago, I'm like, wow, I sucked.
Right.
I sucked. I just got better over time. But, you know, I think, and I was talking to Patrick Bet-David about this, about, you know, how do you grow a big show? How do you grow a big following? You know, he's like, you got to be noisy. You got to be willing and ready to take some hard lines, take some stances that are going to make people angry. Because if you don't go, because that's what gets people interested is, wow, Mark just brought some heat. Matt just said something that I disagree with. That actually pissed me off. Because you know what I find is people are more likely to leave a comment. They're more likely to share if you say something that makes them angry. If they're like, oh yeah, I agree with that, they're just going to move on. But if they're like, F Matt, I can't believe he would say this. And then they're more likely to share and you're more likely to catch fire. And
you know, the problem is that like, I know there's lots of people out there that surround themselves by like yes men. They don't want to have anybody that disagrees. But I mean, that's like almost everybody that ever failed really big. It's because they're surrounding themselves by yes men.
Yeah,
it's a mistake. It's a mistake to surround yourself by. I only surround myself by like-minded people. That's a mistake. Like, how are you ever gonna be challenged or grow? Like, I have a buddy Zach. Listen, well, I don't think we agree on fraud. Like, we'll talk about scams. I disagree on probably every political, his political ideology. I completely disagree. Every issue I disagree with. I'm not going to not be friends with him. I'm not going to not have conversations with him. I enjoy those conversations with the other person. You know, he mocks me, I mock him. We go back and forth. Like, it's comical, it's funny. I'm not going to be offended by it, but I also feel like I get smarter. I don't get smarter when it's me and three other people and we're all like saying the exact same 100%. Thing. What is you're not?
Those aren't real friends, honestly.
Yeah, but you're not growing.
Right.
Like, you're not growing. No, I'm saying they're friends if we all have the same the same opinion. You can have that, but you know, we can be friends. But the truth is, like, not if they're just agreeing to agree.
Yeah, I think they're just lying to you then, because nobody agrees on everything.
Well, yeah, I know.
You know,
but yeah, I mean, I just think that's how those good conversations back and forth is how you learn about stuff.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and that's why you should never date an AI bot, because it's only going to tell you what you want to hear.
At some point, it will mislead you, and it will ask
for your credit card number.
Could you imagine? At some point, it will. Imagine when they get smart enough to have a difference of opinion, just to create a personality and say, "Oh, I disagree," and this and that, and then you really would be fooled. You'd never be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Or
they lie or mislead you, or man, it's gonna be bad.
The dystopian future is here.
I'll be dead by then, though. I don't have that much time. I don't have that much time. I'm 54. I don't know.
My prediction, you're halfway. You're only halfway.
No way. Man. Could you imagine living to 100? Like, that would suck. Like, it becomes a quality of life issue.
I don't know, man.
Unless they're going to be able to give you drugs to make you feel great.
Pretty soon they're going to have Neuralink. You're going to have robot legs, robot arms. You're going to be slam dunking at 90.
I wouldn't mind having a robot body. You know, like if you were like super, like, oh, you could just go forever.
That's happening. Matt, thanks for being so gracious today, man. I just loved jamming with you on the show. Like, I feel like we could just go for hours, man.
Yeah. I feel like we covered barely anything and yet touched on pretty much everything.
Yeah, man. Flip it up.
AI related.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you coming by.
A scam like for the definition of this podcast is kind of an idea to gain money. Like I might have an idea like, hey, I might have come across a checkbook and go, you know what? I got an idea. I'm going to write a check off of this guy's account who we don't know to you. You're going to deposit in your account. We're going to split it.
Right.
And you might go, hey, I'm down with that. You know what I'm saying? That is what I
don't know
consider.
who would be. You'd be shocked. Look at you. You'd be shocked.
You would be shocked.
I know a guy.
Yeah, you would absolutely be shocked. It's unbelievable. But that is a scam. Or I consider a scam is like the what I was privy to was the shoplifters. Like I knew 4 ladies that did shoplifting, right? And like I was lucky enough to sit in on one of their meetings, because they have one person that draws in the security. So the other 3 are actually going to steal and get away, and the other one's going to draw security. And
draw security, like act like she's doing, not steal anything.
Be absolutely sloppy.
Obvious.
Yes.
So that security kind of hangs out and kind of watches her, and they really focus on her.
And what they do is they come in all separate, and then they all watch her to see if she's being watched. Let's go. That is a scam. Because they're
choreographed.
Yes. Yes. Well, something that's I was pre-planned, but I want to use the legal term premeditated.
That's when you've turned a corner.
Yes,
when you start using
right.
When you start using the legal term.
Yes,
the law enforcement term.
So premeditated. So if I told you, hey, I'm going to write you a check, this is premeditated. Whereas I could have just wrote you a check and said, hey, I'm going to give you $100. I need you to cash it. I could lie,
right?
But to put everyone in on it is the scam. We're all working together to obtain money. That is what we call a scam.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what because what happened
Scheme.
was scheme.
Scheme really isn't illegal, by the way. The term scheme.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Scheme is to me
sounds illegal.
Well, right. Scheme seems singular. Like if you use the word scheme, it seems like it would only be one person.
Really?
Yeah, a scheme seems like, so then in my mind, a scheme would have a mastermind, which means like that one person is the ultimate benefactor, and all, I spent a lot of time in jail thinking about the differences. So does it reflect?
I think whatever. They're synonyms. Anyway, whatever, roughly. So
like one person benefiting. So you got the little benefactors out there. So
that
a scam is a group effort. Like, hey, I got an idea.
Okay, so what happened? I disagree, but what happened? What I don't understand. So that's the scam you admire? The one where they're shoplifting, or just you admire the fact that they drew law enforcement away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the brilliance of it. Well, you would say that only because I'm given the simplicity of it.
Right.
But to watch that in action, because it works. So the one person that's the person that draws the attention actually gets stopped at the register.
Right. And what's so funny is that they're not in any jeopardy at all.
No. And the other people leave with they have orders of stuff going in. It's unbelievable. They have orders of stuff going in, and the one girl stopped at the register. Oh, and she gives them a sob story and cries. And then 20 minutes, they're texting on the phone, and it's like they're gonna let me go, and then they end up letting them go with, hey, don't ever come back in the store. Warning.
Right.
But the whole time it's like, okay, we got like $6,000 worth of stuff.
You're saying she really does steal stuff? And they get caught, or she
gets stopped at the register.
She makes it look like.
Right.
I was going to say, like,
clumsy.
to me, like in front of them, like with the camera, I would kind of show myself like putting stuff in a bag and then move to a spot and then take the stuff out of the bag.
Oh,
see what I'm saying? Like to me, you get up to the cash register and then they'd come and they'd grab you. Like, oh no, empty your bag, and you'd empty the bag. You'd be like, what? They'd be like, holy Jesus. Like, I saw her. I could see that would be right. And then they'd have to let you go. It's like, what are you talking? Oh, yeah. No, I did put a skirt. I did put the skirt in there. And then I realized, oh, wait a second. This looks bad. I took it out. And then I thought, well, I don't even want this. So I just left it on the counter. It's over there. So But I was going to say, what that reminds me of is the, the Romanian Wall. It was called the Romanian Wall, where there was people from Romania. Or the Gypsy Wall, they called it too. So people would go into and they had video of 7-Elevens and stuff, where there would be like 6 or 8 people would come in, and in a group, and and so the person at the counter, let's say 7-Eleven, would look and see this group move, coming in, and they create almost like a wall. They're just kind of bundled together, and somebody else would walk in, crouch down, and walk in behind them. So the camera, sees them, but the other camera sees the person. But this guy's not watching the camera; he's watching these people.
Right.
So they come in, and then they kind of move through the store. They have kind of a direction where they're kind of walking and moving. And the one guy, somebody says, "Hey," something to the cashier, and he looks over here, and the person who's bent down, who he doesn't even know is in the store, kind of like moves towards the cash register. He's right there. And so as these guys are talking, he's moving around the cash register, and literally they have videos of these guys where the guy he'll go behind the cash register with the guy and go into and steal all kinds of stuff that's back there that's hidden, while these guys are loud and they're playing music and they're talking and banging stuff and doing this, and he's kind of just watching, steal stuff, go back, then they pull the wall back together, and the guy walks out with them, and all they've bought is a stick of gum. And he walks out with, hundreds of dollars of cartons of cigarettes. Or there have been times where they've gone into the safe. There have been times where they said they took a gun. They got a gun.
How? And
then later they'd look at the camera and they'd be like, "Oh my God." And if you watch it, you're like, this is insane.
Watching that in play, the know that's choreographed, because you have to wonder, do they practice that?
They have to practice, right? It's if you watch the videos on YouTube and stuff, you're just going, this is nuts. You're almost like, how could he not? And you're like, okay, I get it, but from his perspective, he's not seeing it. He's only seeing these groups of people. And then once the guy gets under the counter, he's done. He would have to turn around and start looking at the videos that are shooting from the other way. And who's doing that? He's trying to see if these guys are stealing. And they are. They're not. They're stealing. They're
the distraction.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That reminds me. That's what I'm saying. It's the same kind of thing.
Right.
You're just drawing their attention.
To away. And that's a scam.
Yeah. Do you remember? I shouldn't even say this. Do you remember when we were talking about?
I'm thinking Barrington, but go ahead.
No. I'm thinking when we were when we were locked up, and we were talk about the identity theft scam, where it was like, what if someone stole somebody's identity? Like, I steal your identity,
right?
Which, given that you're a man of color, would be difficult. But let's assume I steal your identity. I get a driver's license in your name. I run up all your credit cards. I then borrow money against your house, the whole thing. But I happen to have LifeLock. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So this was what we used to joke about, and it was, and then when suddenly you start getting the credit cards, the whole thing, I would do that because I'm not worried about him. The worst problem would be that the person you stole their identity finds out and calls the police, but I know he's not going to call. What's going to happen is once the first credit cards start showing up, you then call the police. Hey, look, I got an issue, man. I got a $40,000 credit card bill. Right. Someone took my credit card. You call your credit card company. You do this, and then more bills start showing up. You start going, oh, whoa, well, I need somebody to come out here. I got $100,000 in credit card debt. Right. Somebody stole my credit cards. No, I don't know. I have them on me. Or maybe I lost my wallet, but I didn't give anybody my PIN numbers. This is ridiculous. Right. And so you do all that. You run it all up. Then you find out maybe there's a mortgage on their house, or somebody took out a $50,000 personal loan in your name. You're like, right, oh my God. Right. So we were talking about you run it up to $200,000-$300,000. It's insane. You're calling the police. But the interesting thing about that was that what we were saying, well, what you were saying really was, you were like, but I know what's going on because I can call the police and say, well, do you have any leads? well, what's happening?
Right.
Well, what happened with, and the police would be like, look, we're doing it. We found this. There was a P.O. box that was opened.
Right.
Well, who opened the P.O. box? Well, we can't find the person that opened the P.O. So you're going through the whole thing, or it was an abandoned house. It's actually in your neighborhood. What? But you would know, because at some point they would say, look, we're just out of option. We don't know what to do. And you're also involved because the credit card people are contacting you.
Right.
So at some point, even if there was a prosecution, the worst that could happen is you were saying you could say, look, I'm not going to participate in that prosecution. I got my money back. The credit card companies paid the money back, and we got the thing with the mortgage taken care of. And I don't want any trouble with I don't know who you arrested, but I don't want any trouble with that person. Right. And then being the person, if they did end up getting arrested, I could then say, man, I'm going to trial. And you
don't have the victim.
They'd be like, Jesus, no, knowing when the prosecutor comes in and says, oh, listen, this guy's going to show up. He's going to testify. He'd be like, is he? I can't wait to see him. We had this whole thing laid out.
Right.
And the other one was the identity theft, the LifeLock, was that you could also claim against LifeLock.
Right.
To say
you could sue for allowing all that to happen.
Right. But when we were locked up, you and I thought, and I know differently now, but we thought, remember they say up to $1 million. It was $1 million in legal fees that they would pay to fix it. We were thinking that was like insurance that they would,
right?
Like they would pay off your credit cards, or they would, but they won't. It's just they would just call and file the claims for you, which would still be good, because you could still say they could do all that for you. You have to do nothing.
Is that all LifeLock does, is just file the claims?
LifeLock and Home Title Lock, they will hire an attorney that will file all the paperwork to reinstate your credit cards, get the balances dropped. Now Home Title Lock only does it for mortgages.
Right.
LifeLock only does it for identity theft.
Okay.
So if you had both of them,
which you probably have to have.
Yeah, but you could really insure yourself completely against the whole thing.
Yep.
But when we were locked up, we were thinking
they would pay you,
but they won't pay you. No. And the thing is too, it's like it's a service. It's not insurance, because they just don't insure you.
Right.
So, but they will pay for the fees, which honestly is the biggest hurdle. If something happens, like,
right,
you're trying to, like, you got like a 40, 50 hour a week job, and you're driving back and forth. Like, when do you have time to write all those letters and try and fix all this? If you're a real victim, if you really are a victim, like, that's the problem. Like, you got to write letters, you got to send emails, you have to make phone calls. Like, man, I'm working till 5 or 6 o'clock. I don't even get home till 6:30.
Right.
Then my kids are screaming. I got to make dinner. I got, like, when are you calling anybody? You got to start taking days off work to try and fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So
count me out.
So a couple of the schemes that I admired, I think we talked about one of them, which was had to do with the Kellogg's.
Yeah.
And I admired, what's so funny about that scheme is that came to me at a phone call. My wife and I are sitting at the house, and I don't know what we were watching, but somebody called and go, hey, they call up and they go, hey, they got you on television. I go, what channel? NBC. I go, me? They go, no, they got the kind of crap that you do. Oh. So then I turn it over to NBC, and I think it was American Greed. But what was happening, it was showing a guy that was cashing like $100,000 checks.
How's that even possible?
That's what I'm like, oh my God. So what was happening was there was a oil rig. Somebody worked for an oil company in Houston. And this woman was seeing the checks come in to pay the oil company. And what the guy had done was he opened up a similar company with the oil, with the name of the company. Like, right. He went to another state and opened up a company that had a similar name as the company that was receiving the checks. So if we were paying an oil company, if we were Matt and Zach's gas station, we might write an oil company a check for like $300,000
right.
for a shipment of oil. Well, the woman that worked in the office was giving that to her friend, and he was depositing it into an account he started that had a very similar name as the oil company. This is what they were putting out on American Greed.
Yeah.
So like, my wife and I were sitting there watching this, right? And we looked at each other like,
nice.
Why didn't we think of doing it? Because here's what's funny. Here's what we were doing at the time.
I'm sorry. That's so wrong.
It is. It's a horrible, horrible crime.
Honey, can you believe that?
No, it was one of those moments where we're sitting. The reason why that happened is because what we were doing at the time is we were making checks. So we would go to mailboxes, business mailboxes, and steal the mail at night. We just look for checks. And what we do is we'd find the check, and then I would make a check payable to someone off of that. I was just looking for a fresh account.
Yeah.
So we were finding all these business checks. In fact, one time, I remember we found $100,000 check.
Right.
I'm like, geez, man, I wish we could cash that somehow, you know? And that's what was happening. We see all these checks, and we just make a duplicate check for like $4,000 or $5,000 and deposit it in an account with somebody and just get the money out and run. That was our whole deal. So when we're watching television and they go, hey, he was actually cashing the checks that he was getting for their full amount. And you just look at each other like, can you imagine if we had known this with the $100,000 check? Like, jeez.
I was gonna say, what's funny is people don't realize, like, you can open a corporation and then you can open up a DBA or a corporation similar. You could say, like, let's say there's, this drink, Ghost Energy drink. Then you could open up a corporation that says, that's Ghost,
distributor.
Yeah, Ghost Distributor, Ghost Productions, Ghost Energy, drink 2.
Yes.
Whatever. Like, it's like, of Tampa Bay, of Florida, or whatever. You just add anything onto it that changes it subtly. And then the next thing you know, you can go open up a bank account in that name and deposit checks,
with that name on it.
or any variation of that name, because the banks just don't check. They,
who it's going to, the address. They don't even match the state. They just look at the name and process it.
Yeah, I used to have a company, Consortium Financial Services. They would write Consortium Mortgage. This is people paying me.
Yes.
They'd send me, Consortium Mortgage, Consortium Bank, Consortium whatever, home loans. It's like, it's Consortium Financial Services. Right. Sometimes it would just be Consortium. Right. I just deposit them. Nobody, the bank never said, oh, wait a second. This is an issue.
Yeah.
No.
And so it was, so we did that. Picked up checks. We probably did over $100,000 in checks when somebody called us and said they had a friend that worked in Kellogg's. That was a story that I shared.
Yeah.
And that's how that whole scheme developed.
Yeah, we did that video got a lot of views. That's the Kellogg video.
The Kellogg, yes. So when we called the girl, like, you could imagine, like, we were dancing because when we called the girl, I asked her, she goes, oh, well, I work up in the office and I see the checks. I said, okay, well, how much is a check? She goes, probably the smallest check is probably like $2.5 million. What? It's like, man. I go, it's over. We're done. Our fraud days are over.
The $7 million Kellogg scam. Yeah. Stealing $7 million from Kellogg's.
Yes.
That just sounds horrible. Yeah. That got like 70,000 views.
Wow.
That's not bad for my channel. And that was like a year ago. That was a year ago. Must have been just before.
Yes, right.
The incident.
Yes. The horrible incident. So yeah, that's what led to that discovery, because we started, of all the crap we were doing, we added that to our repertoire and just started making money. And that's when the girl from Kellogg's came into our life and gave us the possibility of getting a $7 million check from Kellogg's. I remember telling her, I'm like, we're done. $7 million, it's over. We give the girl $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing it. Yeah. What's so funny is, like, my mindset back then, like, it was never going to be over. I used to always say, like, man, if I just got a few $1 million, if I got a few $1 million, I would have said that was easy.
You thinking that? Well, yeah, you're right.
It was the whole, just like that stupid thing I was just making. It's that quote. There's nothing There's just no feeling in the world like walking in a bank, handing them a fake ID and some fake documents, and then having them hand you a check for $250,000 and thank you for ripping them off. Like, I mean, that's just insane.
Yes.
And that feeling, you're like, this is insane, right? Like, I'm going to walk in there, and then, or even thank you and telling you what a great customer you've been. Like, I borrowed like a couple $100,000 one time. And I always say this because I had a guy who like read my book who came back and was like, "You said you borrowed a couple $100,000 in the book. It says you borrowed $120,000." It was just like, man, whatever. I don't remember what it was. Okay, $150,000, $200,000, whatever it was. I had borrowed it in the name of this fake. It was a real person. It was a homeless guy. So I borrowed that money and he had perfect credit.
Right.
So got a check for whatever, let's say $150,000. Went and deposited it in my bank, and immediately, as soon as I did it, the person goes, "Okay, thank you." And they went, "Oh, you've been approved for a $30,000 credit card." And I went, "You mean pre-approved?" She goes, "No, you've been approved." And of course I've been approved. I just deposited a check for $150,000 in cash. I mean, $150,000 into my account, and I do have perfect credit. You know, that guy had perfect credit, and she said, "All you have to do is tell me you want the card and we'll have it overnighted to you." And I went, "Yes, I do."
A free 30 grand
Yes,
for ripping you off?
yeah.
Absolutely. Hand that over.
See, the problem is that's how you and I look at it, as a free 30 grand. To them, they're like, it's a credit line. You're like, no. That's not the way this works. I promise you, it's free. There's no payments getting made.
No, I promise you it's free, but I won't be once they catch up with me behind this.
So right now, though,
I'm walking up out of this mug.
I got a sports car. I got a hot girlfriend.
Yes,
I was
amen.
happy.
Amen, yes.
Going on some vacations.
Yeah.
Right up till they put them cuffs on me. And I was
That's
like,
right. Then it's unfree.
It's like, but I'm going to Australia. Listen, if I was a cop, you know how much fun I would have? I'd be like, with a couple of guys that are, it's like, you know, with what they're saying, you know, what no, I can't, you can't arrest me. Stop it, bro. We got you on video. 2 of your co-defendants rolled on you.
You know damn well you'd play along. You're like, oh, you were going to Australia.
Oh, hold on. Let me get the keys to the cuffs.
Yeah, there's no way. You'd be like, come on, bro. We got you on film. It's kind of like my arrest with the, what is your name? Albert Henley. Albert Henley, you have ID? Of course I have ID. Here you go. Yeah, all right. Anyway.
Then there goes another charge. Now we got aggravated identity theft.
He just looked at it like,
you're good.
Yeah, like, wow. Here you go. Come on, let's go.
Come on, Albert.
Yeah. Okay, Albert, let's go. You're going to jail. We're not going to arrest Isaac anymore. We're arresting Albert, guys. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, my God. Good times.
Getting arrested is not good times. Maybe so. Get out of here.
It's fun looking back on it. At the time, it's not fun.
Oh, no. It's like everything spins in your head. That and the time when you get your time in court. Oh,
it's like immediately. I just got a job at McDonald's. Immediately. I
shouldn't have done none of that stuff.
Yeah. Immediately regret every single thing. And then, but then you get out and 6 months go by and you're like, listen, I just heard. Yeah, but you have been sending you money in jail for the past 2 years.
Yeah, but doesn't mean I've perfected it. I've thought it over. Yeah, I've got it perfected.
I'm going to do it right this time.
Insanity thought. All right, so another hustle that I liked. If we get back on topic, I hope you don't mind. But all right, another one I liked was a guy that was selling clean air credits.
Oh yeah,
remember me telling you about that?
Yeah.
So apparently there is passed by George Bush clean air credits for all the companies that spit pollution into the atmosphere. What they do is they make them invest in companies that actually take pollution out of the atmosphere.
It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah. And so they created I didn't even know this existed until I watched.
Apparently it doesn't exist.
Oh, it still does.
No, I'm saying based on what your guy was doing.
Oh yeah.
That's what they're probably all doing. You're taking all that carbon and all this stuff out of the air. Come on, stop it, bro. Like, well, no, we're planting trees.
The planting tree, and for poop, people who process or help disintegrate manure and stuff like that into fertilizer, that actually cleans the air, believe it or not. But I'm going to tell you, like the Clean the Ocean, what's the name of that company that sends out those bags for, we take gunk out of the ocean? Have you seen that? Those commercials for them?
No. I don't watch a lot of TV though.
Oh, there's a one big company out there that cleans the ocean, that they claim to cleans the ocean, and they go, oh, we're sponsored by so many, people helping us out, helping us clean. We take donations. Most of their money, I heard this on NPR, a majority of their money comes from the clean air credits. All companies that pollute the ocean pay them big time for going out there and taking gunk out of the ocean. So those things are still around. What it was I didn't know is that there was a marketplace for the balance. So if corporations that dirty up the air obviously have much, much more money, right, than corporations that actually clean the air. So the corporations that clean the air actually sell clean air credits to those companies, and they have a certain amount that they need to have. They actually fight and bid. It's a bidding war. It's like eBay for the clean air, because sometimes it goes up depending on the demand. So obviously the schemer.
I don't know why I just pictured Christie's. I just pictured a bunch of corporate fat cats on a stage.
You should have seen the episode, bro.
Behind the auctioneer at Christie's, and in the crowd, it's nothing but hippies. And they're all like, "You bastards! 300,000. I'll go 300. I'll go 280. I'll go 260." And they're shut up, Jennifer. And they've got their combing their hair and they're wearing flowers. Yeah,
make it beautiful, baby.
There's a band. The monkeys are playing in the background. You remember the monkeys?
Yes, I love the monkeys. But anyway, yes. So this schemer obviously got approved by the EPA.
Nice.
But what he did was he rented a place, rented the equipment. I can't even remember how he fraudulently told them he was cleaning the air. They came over. The EPA gave him the seal of approval.
Okay.
Once he got that approval, he went on the clean air.
Shut everything down.
Yeah. He leased the machine. Listen, when they came and checked him out, because they would announce, we're coming in 2 weeks. Oh, you are? Yeah, I need at least another couple of machines. Yeah. And he'd bring them back.
Stick them in the warehouse. Yeah. Put them around back. Get some hippies out here and some tree huggers to look like we're do-gooders.
American Greed was cursing them up and down.
Round up 50 do-gooders. Yeah, stick them in there.
We're picking up trash on the side of the road, you bastards. But
exactly.
American Greed was criticizing the EPA for approving him three times. He was checked out. All 3 times he passed. Like, yeah, he's doing it. Selling clean air credits. I told you what caught him was he had this penchant for expensive cars. He bought like $3 million worth of expensive. He had like a Lamborghini, not a Jaguar, but what's the other cat car?
Cat car?
I want to say it's another car that's like $100,000, not a Lamborghini, but it's another $100,000 car. I can't remember.
Lamborghinis are like $300,000-$400,000.
Oh, they are?
Oh yeah, Ferrari. What?
Maybe a Ferrari, but
Maseratis.
Maserati. That was the other one. He had about over like $3 million worth of cars parked out by his house. Which it would be like someone pull in and you have $3 million in cars. Like he was in a regular neighborhood like yours, and you just come up and you go like, dude, what the hell is with all these expensive cars? Hey, I'm just living like that.
Yeah,
so they call the police. That's how he got caught.
I'm just doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's
trying to clean up the planet.
That's how he got caught. The police come, and he's got all the paperwork for the cars, and they're kind of like, okay, and they hands it over to I guess a detective or a fraud investigator who kind of runs the guy, and he checks him out. Like the EPA calls and makes an appointment.
Right.
He checked him out without an appointment. Like, I don't know how you're selling all those clean air credits sitting in this empty warehouse, but I'm finna tell somebody.
So he told the EPA and.
Well, yeah, I think and then they brought him up on. He only, like, when it all came down to it, I think he got like 3 years in prison, but he stole like about $8 or $9 million.
I'll do 3 years for $8 million. That's what we ought to have.
Because they didn't even know. They didn't even understand the charge. It was crazy. It was like a unique. They had to charge him uniquely because there was really no crime of what he was doing, like false statement type of charge, like the 1001, like the beginning. All the charges giving false information. That was a charge, and that only carries 3 years. So I guess he got nothing. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking. I was just thinking. I was thinking during the Civil War, they were conscripting people, right? So either you had to show up, or one of your family, right? Or you could say, "Hey, I can't do it. I want it. Fellas, I want to. I'm with you, but I want to be. Can't be with you. I got to do the farm. I got to do the whole thing. But I've got my slave John. He can go for me." And they would say, "Okay, well, put your mark here, John." And John would put his mark, and he'd be in the army. I thought, what if you were super rich and you're going to jail and you were able to say, "Listen, I know I got 4 years, or I know I got 3 years. I can't go, but Matt will do my time for me. And then I have to compensate Matt to do my time." Like,
bro. I'm
ready to sign up. Like, I'll do what kind of, first in the custody level, like, oh no, you're going to a pen. Oh, Matt, how much for the pen? Listen, pen's $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year.
And I'm gonna do 4
years. I'll do 4 years. Do 4 years for you, but you gotta, but it's going to be $1 million up front in my lawyers. Could you imagine if you could negotiate that? And in a way, I think I know what you're going to say. In a way, people do. You can. I'll tell you an incident that I know about, but go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I sat in county jail one time wondering if it was possible to get someone else to do my sentence. Like I've like you were describing about you being me.
Yeah.
Like I told myself, how much would it disturb the system if I would allow someone to become me and they just go hey, I'm Isaac Allen.
Well, no, I
mean
like if there was actually a system.
Oh, you mean like a legal system?
Legal capitalized. Look, you got to do this much time. You have to give us this much time. And say, listen, I'm not going to, but I've paid this service, and they're going to provide someone that will do that time for me. And they go, okay, do you have the paperwork? Do you have an SS-12 form? Yes. Do you have a 722 form? Yes. Did he sign? I need your driver's license? Oh, I got my driver's license. Like, okay, boom, and he goes in for you. Like,
makes me think of Palmer. He'd be.
Right. Though there are people that will do that, but they would do that. And here's an example of that, a real world example. We used to call this guy they were calling him the Mexican Tony Soprano. There was a cartel member in Atlanta that had gotten like 15 or 20 years, right? Like he's got like 7 lawyers. And this was in Atlanta, in Atlanta City Detention Center, right? ACDC, where you would meet with your lawyer in the unit. They would walk into a room, and it was like a glass room, like there's a glass wall, and glass, it's the metal piping with the thing. You'd walk in there with your lawyer or whoever, and they'd close the door, and you'd sit there and have a conversation. Crews, like 5-6 lawyers showed up every time to see this guy. He had tons of money. His cellie, just to let you, I'm just saying this is the kind of guy he was, his cellie was a black guy that was complaining because his baby's mama's car had broke down and it just blew, like the engine blew.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, he said, give me your address. I'll get her another car. If somebody drop a car off. And he goes, no, man, you don't understand. He's like, no, I understand. She needs a car. And he's like, are you serious? And he said, yeah, man. Yeah. This is a guy that every time commissary came, like his bag was full and 3 other guys' bags were full that he was buying.
People like that.
Right. So, meaning he's putting money on other people's commissary accounts to buy him stuff, and they get 20%.
Right.
So he what he did was, oh, by the way, that guy, like when that whole thing happened, I remember like 3 days later, he got off the phone with his girlfriend and said, "You're not going to believe this." We were sitting there, I remember playing chess.
Oh, this is a true story.
Oh, it's true. I was in that. The black guy came up and he was looking for his celly, right? His celly was, I forget, he had been moved for medical. He was coming back. He's like, "Bro, remember he said he was going to get a car?" He said, "Mike, I got off the phone 2 hours ago. Some guy showed up with it wasn't a brand new car. It was like a 5-year-old, Acura." He's like, "The thing's got like 30,000 miles on it." He was like, "He just gave it to her. He signed over the title and everything." We were like, "Damn, like Tony did that?" He was like, "Yeah." He had a name that was,
definitely scream mafia.
Yeah, no, I mean, they called him Tony. He was the Tony Soprano of, but no, he had a Spanish name that was difficult. It wasn't something like Jesus. It was a hard one. So what happened was, I remember too watching my Dateline episode with him. We were all sitting there watching the Dateline episode on me. And I was sitting there just shaking my hand. I kept looking over at him. He goes, "You're a bad boy. You."
That's what he's saying. You're a bad boy.
So here's what he had done. He had paid a peasant, right, in Mexico to come over through the border and told law enforcement who was there and how much, and that he was coming and he had this much dope or whatever in the car, gave him the type of car, the tag, everything. They saw him, they grabbed him. Boom, 5K1. Then he said, so the second, that was one he was doing. So now now he's already down to like 15 years or something. He was supposed to get like 25, he's down to 15. He had already arranged it, and he'd been in the jail doing this. He had arranged to have a guy fly over and land at an airport, like a makeshift airport in Texas. And the DEA was going to grab him, and he was going to have X amount of pounds of pot. And that guy was going to, and I was like, "How much time is it?" He's like, "Oh no, the one guy, he got 5 years. We make sure my lawyer in Mexico makes sure that he has just enough to only get 5 years. And right. I take care of his family." The next guy was going to do 10. Like, guys are lining up to come to do his time for him so he could get his sentence reduced.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, listen, Atlanta was right. But I mean, that's the kind of money he had. There was a guy in Coleman this is a guy who we're talking about. He's like one step, maybe one step below El Chapo when he was running things, right? Is actually the person who was running the Sinaloa cartel was El Chapo and El Mayo.
Right.
Everybody always says El Chapo or Chapo, but El Mayo's low profile. He's really the guy that started the whole thing and brought in El Chapo. The point is that like there's one guy beneath him, and the guy beneath him, that was the guy I was locked up in Coleman with. This isn't AC. This is another guy. That guy had, remember the old photo books you could buy?
Yeah,
the old ones.
Yeah.
You couldn't sell. I don't know about where you were, but in Coleman, they stopped selling the big ones. They were too big.
I know which one you're talking about.
But he had.
You mean the little one or the big one?
No,
the big.
It was a
yeah,
big one.
I know.
You could only buy the little ones when
Yeah.
I was there. But there were guys that still had the big ones.
Huge ones.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like they were like 3 pictures across and 3 pictures down. Back when there were these things called photos that you could actually print out, and they were actually photos. And he had books full of them. He'd done like 3 or 4 years, and he still had a few more years to go. And this is the kind of guy that got caught on a conspiracy and got like a life sentence, but had worked it all the way down by giving up low-level guys that knew what was going to happen. Like he sets them up, like they're being set up on purpose, and they're saying, "Okay, so you're going to load 300 pounds in the trunk, and I'm going to drive through here." And they're gonna arrest me, yes. And then it'll take a couple months for you to get sentenced, 6 months for you to get sentenced, and then you'll get 5 years. And then we already got you a lawyer that'll show up, make sure you're gonna get 5 years. You only got the maximum amount to get 5. You can't get more than 5 years.
And you don't have any priors.
No priors. You're going, So anyway, this guy had done the same type of thing, and he was at a low already, and he was going to a camp. he had photos of him in Mexico where he had to do, like, so many years ago, he had done like 2 or 3 years in Mexico. It was insane, the photos he had. They were allowing him 10 days a month. You can have your family come and stay with you in the
jail.
Prison.
They had a special spot. America,
it was insane. Plus, you understand that so many days a month you could have other people come in. Like, he literally had prostitutes come in, and they're staying the night.
Yes.
Like, they're walking him to the cell, staying the night. He's drinking Coors, and he's got.
America has if you talk to anyone that's been abroad, America has the most harshest penal system ever of all of the world. Maybe Russia might be. No, because I met somebody in jail in Russia.
Well, I've met some guys that. Yeah, trust me. There's not in the world, but there's 3 or 4. There's probably, let's say there's 5 or 6 other countries that are really rough. But rough meaning, so the conditions are.
The Mexico conditions are horrible.
Right.
It's like a city.
I understand they're horrible, but in some ways they're horrible. But if you have money,
the freedom is.
But in some ways it's like, what are you talking about? You're letting people bring them food, and they're allowed to bring so much food. They're allowed to bring so much. They're allowed to come see them and stay in the cell with them for 3 days straight. Yep. They're allowed. It was like, that's insane. And then of course, but if you're poor and you go to Mexico, it's horrendous, and you're sleeping in the hallways. So it depends on what type of a criminal you are and what your ability to produce or have money is. But I was going to say, when we're back to the scam, sorry.
Well, I only had 2. I didn't know if you.
Oh, listen, the scams that I admire are like, I do. This is horrible. If you remove the victims, I do admire like Ponzi schemes, guys that do Ponzi schemes, which is really, they're just blatant liars, But if you were to just set up a Ponzi scheme, here's what bothers me about Ponzi schemes, is that most Ponzi schemes, and I don't mean most, I mean like 99% of them, weren't set up as a scam. Like, they were set up as a legitimate business that very quickly goes bad.
Yes.
Sometimes they go do great for 6 years, 10 years. Sometimes guys set them up, and a year and a half later, they're like, wow, man, like, I'm not good at this. And, where they set it up as a legitimate, let's say, I'm going to invest, of course, the investors always get in trouble. Like, it's a hedge fund. Right. They make a couple of they have a bad quarter, then they lie about it. I'll make it up next quarter. Then they have another bad quarter.
Right.
They lie about it. They have another bad quarter. They lie about it. Then maybe they have a good quarter, but it's nowhere near good enough to recoup the losses they've had. Then they have another bad quarter, and they're just continuing to tell everybody they're doing well, and they just keep borrowing and borrowing, and before you know it, it's like, so, how off are you? Well, I've lost $5 million. I'm supposed to have $50 million in, the coffers, and I don't. I'm paying out this much money because I've lost this much money, but I told people that I made $11 million. So wow, so you're off by $15 million. Yeah, it's just, and then it spirals out of control, and then they just try and maintain it as long as possible. So, if you remove the fact that the people that they're typically taking the money from are just regular people, the ability to do that and set it up and maintain it for a long period of time is amazing to me. That to me is.
Well, what scheme are you thinking about? Because like Madoff comes to mind.
Madoff does. What bothers me about Madoff is, like, he did it in his name. Like, he's just an idiot. Like,
well, he didn't, like you said, he didn't start off to take money. Like, give an example. Like a couple of the Ponzi schemes were the guys. I can show you how to do mortgages. Like, I'm talking about all those people that go buy my system, and I'll tell you how to buy houses. I'll help you buy houses, or I'll put the down, but you find the house.
Yeah, Grant Cardone's type.
Yes,
of.
him.
Yeah,
those type of Ponzi schemes. Now, those were Ponzi schemes because
Grant Cardone's not a Ponzi scheme. I thought you were talking about two different things. Like he's not running a Ponzi. Well, he may be. I don't know.
Well, there's one that was a Ponzi scheme. I've seen those people get arrested, all of them. Like, and I never really understood what they did wrong, but they said it was a Ponzi scheme. And I
know, a lot of times they typically. Here's the thing I've noticed too. Like I've talked to a lot of guys. This guy Red Bull. They said he ran a Ponzi scheme. It was a business opportunity scheme, but they're actually. They would like it's like people know what a Ponzi scheme is, so a lot of times the newspapers simplify it. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, really, there's so many schemes that I'm not impressed by as much as I'm just disappointed by. It's like you had something that was legitimate and you ruined it because you didn't do this one thing, or
right.
I always thought that this was like a legit. That guy said it was a legit. I don't know. The guy was like he basically was giving people a credit card. So it was like, hey, you give me $59, right, and I'll give you a credit card worth $300, and I'll report to the credit bureau. So it's a way to help clean up your credit,
right?
And then he gives you a catalog that you can buy from. Well, everything in the catalog is jacked up. It's all like this is stuff he's getting from China for $15,
right? And
he's charging $150, $200. So everything you can buy is really it's horrible. Like you buy one thing, and he's not out any money because he took in $50.
Right.
It cost him $15. Even if you never make a payment, then it doesn't matter. He's not out any money at all. And if you do make the payment, well, that's great because eventually he gets the $200 back. The point is that was there was a guy in Coleman who had done that. And it was kind of like a business opportunity thing that he had just kind of set up.
Right.
The problem was he said, I set it up. We started running with it, started doing well, started hiring people. People are calling. We're getting people in. We're doing great numbers. He said, but then I turned around and he went to like Equifax and said, how much for me to record these every month? And it was too much.
Right.
They wanted, I don't remember the number. Let's say they wanted like, it's like $20 a person. He was like, that's insane. Not gonna. And then they said, well, you don't have enough. If you have this many people, like if you have 1,000 people, then we drop it from 20 down to this much. If
$20 per month.
Per month. Then they were like, if you do this many, if you have over 10,000 people, then we drop it down to it's $8. Like you have to have whatever it was. It was an outrageous amount of number for it to get down to where it was almost nothing, right? Where it was cents, which is where someone like Bank of America is. Like it cost them almost nothing to report.
Right.
But he wasn't there, so he figured, okay, that's fine. At the rate we're going, we'll be over the 1,000. It'll cost $8 or whatever it was. I forget the number. And he said, but by the time we got to the 1,000, like nobody was complaining. He said like nobody, like even people that called and said, hey, it hasn't shown up yet. We were like, well, yeah, you have to make a few payments before it should. Trust me, he's like he said, and a lot of people would just stop paying. So it's like they don't say anything at all. Like they don't want it to show up.
Right.
And he said, so 6 months, a year went by.
Right.
Now he's just telling people, oh, we're reporting. Where are you pulling from? Where are you? Like they
oh yeah.
Then, and I was like,
downward spiral.
Right. But at this point you could pay. He's like, I forget how many millions he ended up making, 5-6 million. I mean, it was just tons. And he's dumping money into, he's like, advertising, paying this, like, but you're making millions.
Yes.
You're telling me if I had a little scheme that I was running that was making me $2 million, and for me to make it legit, I have to spend $1 million.
Yeah.
Even if I had just a million out of my
half,
I'll spend the million to keep $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, he wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. So within a year or two, it catches up with them.
Lavish lifestyle.
Just a jerk off, and then he gets arrested, and then of course they go in front. He's got thousands and thousands of victims. So what he thought was, okay, it's a few $1 million. I'll do a couple years. Ended up being ridiculous. It was like 6 to 8 years or something because he had so many victims.
Yeah.
Because do you remember that the federal sentencing guidelines? Like, if I have
0 to 10,
yeah,
they changed it. They changed it now. But when I got sentenced, 0 to
What I'm saying
no, it's 5. It was 5, wasn't it? No, it was more than 10.
Right. It goes up in increments.
Well, yeah, 10 and 50.
Right. And then it goes up again. It goes up like 150, 250, and over 500, something like that. Like it keeps going.
Oh, wow. When I got sentenced, it was more than 10. Then it was more than 50.
I think it was up to 250, or more.
Wow, they changed it. They changed it for real. I got slammed.
Well, so what happened with him was like, let me put it this way. Let's say I stole $1 million from 2 people. Like I stole $1 million from you and $1 million from you. I don't get an enhancement for that. Like I don't get it. I don't get an enhancement for the victims but if I stole, $20 from 50 people, I get this massive enhancement. It's like, wait a second. I stole next to nothing from these people. $20 a pop. That's nothing. That's not going to change their life. Right. These guys wiped someone out, and they're like, I know, but they have more victims. It's $20. Like even if it's less money. Yeah, but less money, but you have more victims.
Yeah, but that's not like their logic is skewed. But that makes sense to me. Because chances are the $20 are from poorer people, and you wipe out rich people.
So I don't know. $900,000 from an old retired woman.
Yeah, you're right. So
then,
it doesn't.
Well, that's what
it doesn't balance.
They were trying to change that. There was like an amendment that I forget FAM had put up or somebody. They were trying to, they never do change them, but they were like, when I was, we were getting these letters like, hey, this is going up. They're going to change this and this and this, and like none of it passed.
The problem with the feds is none of it's retroactive.
Yeah, even if it does, it'd be new people.
Which you want to kind of say, like, okay, so I already stole that money. You don't make anything retroactive. Why should I have to pay those freaking people that already stole? So you're like, oh, well, this is wrong. We'll change it. But we're not going to let the people who got screwed by it, we're not going to unscrew them.
So I got caught with a pound of marijuana today, and I got a year. Right. This guy got caught with 2 pounds on Tuesday, and he gets nothing.
Right.
Because now it's not illegal. Yeah, but when you did it was illegal. Yes, but it's now not.
Right.
I get it. Can we make that retroactive and let me out? No.
Absolutely not.
No, you're a criminal. He didn't get it from a pharmacy either. I know, but he got it from the same guy I got it from.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, they never made any of those victim changes retroactive. But like for me, the Ponzi scheme, I agree. I think it's someone losing control of a specific situation. Like all the infamous, all the famous ones that I know about. Yeah. It's just kind of like you get off the handle. Do you remember, and I'm going to say this completely wrong, where it's not even going to be probably valid. I probably shouldn't even try it. But there was one guy that was offering a pill that was supposed to make your penis larger.
Of course I do.
And he goes, "Hi, meet
of course,
Dick."
Yeah. And he would do that. It was so he got busted.
Yes, because like I'm going, what kind of like when I saw that. Like I'm in jail. I immediately ran to the law library to look that up because I'm like, what Ponzi scheme could he have pulled off?
Was it a Ponzi scheme?
Yes, it was.
No.
Because it was dishonest. It was a Ponzi scheme.
No, it wasn't. It was
because you couldn't cancel it.
Right. It was just dishonest. That's not a Ponzi scheme. You know what a Ponzi scheme is? It's Ponzi scheme is when you're giving me money where you're taking from new victims to pay old victims off. And it eventually, yeah. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
You're killing me.
I'm sorry.
A Ponzi scheme is where you give me $100,000 and I say you're making 20% a year. And you go, okay, but really I just spent your money on a Lamborghini, and a new house for me. And then when you say, hey, Matt, I need to get $100,000 of that back. I say, oh, okay, Connor, give me $100,000. I'll make you 20% a year. And you go, okay, you give it to me, and I give you
the $100,000,
or $20,000, whatever your proceeds are. I'm taking from. So anytime you pull out, I'm giving you money that I'm taking from Mary Shelley, from Connor, from Jess, so other people are paying in, and anybody who says,
I'm not using it for what you're supposed to use it for.
Right. So anytime somebody says, you say, hey, I give you $100,000 and it's been 5 years, it's now worth $300,000. I say, oh, I got it. Here's your $300,000, but I just took their money to pay you. And when he asked for his money, I'm taking from Bob and Jim and Bill to pay him. And so what happens is it's okay. It functions okay if more people pay in all the time. That's what Social Security is. Social Security is people. It's a legal Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
Because they're pulling from everybody's check to pay out people that had paid in originally.
Yes.
So
insolvent. But
at some point,
meet Dick and Jane. Yes, that guy.
Yeah, what was it? So what you know? I know this whole scam.
Well,
you know
run
what
it down.
The scam,
you had that. Go ahead. You tell it.
Okay, so here's what he was saying. What they were saying was, well, it's a money back guarantee. Like you pay for it. If it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back.
And it didn't work.
No. Well, of course it doesn't work. But his whole thing was when people said, I paid $500. I want my $500 back. It's been 6 months. I've been taking this pill. I'm out of pills and nothing ever happened. My Johnson did not get bigger, which you promised.
Right.
And he said, okay, well, all we need is a letter from your doctor showing that prior to you taking the pills, you were this size, and now you're still the same size, and that the pills did not help you. So just get us a letter from your doctor. If you can prove it, we'll give you the money back. Who the hell? Like, I didn't. If you read the fine print, we have to have proof or that sort. So, well, I'm sorry, but I didn't go to my doctor and get him to measure my junk before and after. So they're like, well, I'm sorry. Then how do we know it didn't work?
Look how small my junk is.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
so you imagine people are taking pictures.
Here's your money back.
Look at this.
Some people are like, here's your money back.
Does this look like my wife is smiling the way that chick on the commercial?
Right.
Yeah. So as a result of that, they ended up. So it was unfair, business practices. It was false advertising. It was.
We got to look that up because how would that be even a federal case? Just
because he's doing it across state lines. He's doing it all over. And stealing from thousands and thousands of little penis men. Which need to be protected.
Which is embarrassing itself. I'm seeing it all lined up in court. Yeah, I still got nothing.
Yeah, it's upsetting. I wish. What is that? What is the name? What was the name of the scam? Right.
My phone's been going off.
Scam involving making your penis big with a pill.
Smiling Bob loses his fortune and his freedom.
And News host John London has more on the male enhancement pill scam in this story. It's new tonight at 5:30. Hi, John.
Cherie, he was blinded by his own arrogance and greed. That is the bottom line tonight from a federal judge who hit Steve Warshak with a 25-year prison sentence and a $500 million fine.
Is he still in?
Smiling Bob bumped
No,
up against
that's
the
the
face
Bob.
of federal justice today in a case about greed. That's how Judge Arthur Spiegel puts it. He's giving Steve Warshak 30 days to get his affairs in order before heading for 20-plus years of federal prison.
This was the perfect storm of consumer fraud. You had a group of consumers that wouldn't want to come forward and say that they'd been ripped off.
Warshak started Berkeley Nutraceuticals, which was raided on suspicion of massive fraud. Federal investigators say consumers were ripped off $100 million worth of ripping by way of those Enzyte ads that promised greater sexual satisfaction. According to the court, it delivered deception instead. Judge Spiegel telling Warshak he preyed on the sexual inadequacies and vulnerabilities of consumers so as to keep massive amounts of money generated by fraud. Attorney Jim O'Reilly is using this case as Exhibit A for his new book, Corporate Criminal Sentencing. As we spoke, the viability of the entire company rested on the size of the federal fine upstairs.
Managements all the time are making decisions that are bet the company decisions. He happened to bet on consumer fraud. He didn't get away with it.
Warshak's 75-year-old mother got a 2-year sentence. Other defendants face the music tomorrow. And late today, the Berkeley Corporation was fined $15 million. Those running it have 3 months to pay it. It is not known tonight if they'll sell or even if they'll be able to continue to operate.
This is saying no
Live in the
results
newsroom, John
found.
London, News 5.
I'll tell you when I get home.
$100 million fraud.
And he did 9 years.
9 years. Could you get somebody to do it for? Could you get somebody to do the time for?
Mine was my fraud was $100,000.
I know.
And I got 16 and a half. And my judge feels like that just simply wasn't enough.
But it wasn't, was it?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't enough. And on top of that, you had an extensive criminal history.
Yes. My lawyer.
Did you see that look?
My lawyer called me a consummate criminal. I had to look that up.
Consummate criminal.
Yes. When I read that in the transcript, I'm like, what the heck does that consummate mean?
Did you go,
Yeah,
stop.
It means perfect.
Nice. I like it.
I'll never forget that. I'm reading in the transcript. Mr. Allen is a consummate criminal.
Did you say,
said,
Your
hold on a
Honor,
minute,
if I was consummate, would we even be having this talk? If I was a perfect criminal, we wouldn't even know each other. Certainly wouldn't have been in front of you all these times. Over and over. Like, at this point, what's his first name?
Who? My judge?
Yeah.
James.
Like, at this point, you basically walk in and go, Jimmy, what's going on? What have you been up to? You know what I've been up to? No, that's why we're here.
Can't stand that. Anyway. Let's not go there. All right. So,
my God.
Do you have any other schemes that you admire besides the little dick and guy? You know, there's a rapper named Little Dicky.
Really?
Yes, I think
There's a rapper, or there's a guy named.
He's got a TV show now, doesn't he? Does he really? Yeah.
There's a Black Zach guy too. Black Zach. Have you ever punch in your thing? Like this is the first thing that comes up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then this comes up. Then you come up.
But the first guy is way better. Mix YouTube. Like, have you listened to the song?
No. Why? What is it? Is it one song? I mean, he's got 18 views. Have you listened to it?
Yes. It's horrible.
No.
It's Xanadu quality.
You've already got more
views than him. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna copy him.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh,
check out the other Black
bad.
Zach, everybody.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh, it's horrible. I told you that.
Look at the booty on that chick. Look. He's got the glasses.
Yeah.
I can't dance.
Oh.
It look. Look at him. Look at him. Come on, put this up.
Get him some views. Get him some subscribers.
We need to get him some subscribers.
The other Black Zach.
Hold on, Connor. It's actually not bad. Why do you think that's bad? Are you serious? Play that thing. I don't think it's bad at all.
Not at all.
It's as good as any of the rap music I've heard. He's got a whole. He loves it too. He loves what he's doing.
Here it comes, dude. It's horrible. I'm like, what is this?
No way. I hope this doesn't get copywritten.
Oh yeah, he takes it. How many songs? He only has one song, or does he have multiple songs?
No, he's got a look. So he's got. Oh no! Oh, he's got. Look at.
Tell him to check out my channel. You should come back to Matt. Like, thank you very much for subscribing. That's how you should close it out. The other Black Zach. Speaking of illegal. Speaking of schemes. What about the other Black Zach? The guys whose name I stole.
What about? Listen, I knew a guy in Coleman that was a concert promoter that promoted several concerts.
Right.
And people paid whatever, a couple $100, like, I mean, radio stations, everything. And he was promoting concerts for people that weren't like, these are artists that are like, well, when am I going to be in Michigan? What's going on? Like, he'd take them and they'd put the money, they'd send in their money, and then the promoter would take the money, and then they would come out and say, hey, it's been postponed. Like on the tickets, it says like, hey, if there's, weather and this and that, or postponements, you understand. And he would postpone it like 60 days, then another 90, then another 30, then 60, and then they just drop away.
They just fade out. And he kept your money.
Right, kept your money. By that way, your money's way gone. Yeah. So he did a whole thing. It eventually caught up with it. He was in Coleman with us. And when I got out, listen to this. I always forget about this. This is hilarious. So when I first got to that, this is a whole sidebar thing. So when I first got to the halfway house, do you remember how which halfway house did you go to? The one
Tampa, the same one you did.
Okay. So
Goodwill.
They were strict, right? Like they were like they're checking you. You come in, and then they do
Not thoroughly, but yeah. Rule wise, yes.
Rule wise, yes. What I'm saying is so for instance, people couldn't just show up and like, for instance, and they told you, did you get the little speech when you got there?
Yes.
Like if you friends come over, you have to tell them, they have to sign in, they have to this, like don't have somebody come meet you in the parking lot.
Right.
Like that's an issue. Like if they saw you, they'd violate you. Like, hey, some guy just came by, they'd search you, like what's going on? You stood out there and talked to that guy for 20 minutes and that sort of thing. Hey, that's a illegal this, whatever, stand there, we're calling, like that. They'd violate you. You'd go spend 30 days in the county jail. So to me, they were strict. Like they had made you clean all the time. If you didn't have a job, you're cleaning all the time. Like they made you want to get out of that halfway house as quick as possible.
Yes.
So, and I was there for 7 months. You were there.
You had a job.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you were on home. You got an ankle monitor right away. You were out right away.
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. I was there 7 months. So
were you in there whole 7 months?
The whole 7 months.
You never got home confinement? You didn't have a home?
Where? I didn't have a home.
Oh
I can't stay with my mom.
Oh my God. 7 months?
Yeah.
You and Jess, right?
No, Jess got out within 60, 90 days. She was out.
Oh, okay.
She had her dad's.
Oh, okay.
And the only reason that took so long was like he had to get like a landline. Like he didn't have a landline. He's in Mayaca. He's got a cell phone. Who the hell has a landline?
Right.
So anyway, the point is that when I got there, I had been there 2 weeks. I get there, I'm keeping my head down. I'm just doing what I have to do. I get there, and probably within a week, guys are walking around. One day, all of a sudden, within like a day or so, I noticed guys are walking around looking at me. And then one day, I walk by a guy sitting on the couches. Remember the couches in the middle, in the day room? Guy's watching. He's watching this is when My American Greed was on Hulu. He's watching it on Hulu as I walk by. And I hear the whole, and I'm like, I look over and he's sitting there watching. And he looks up, he goes, he just smiles. And he was watching. I was like, oh man. So I walk, and a counselor, not my counselor, it was Jess's counselor, this black guy. He walks by and looks at me. He goes, Cox, said, saw you on TV last night. And I went, on what? And he said, on American Greed. I was like, oh man. He was like, yeah, you need to hold your head low. Like he was like giving me a laugh. He was laughing about it. Like but I said, who else has seen it? And he goes, oh, we've all seen it by now. Everybody, like all the staff member had seen it. So that had just happened. And now the inmates are starting to watch it.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything. I'm just trying to go to work and back. Right. Like just started my job. So then one day I'm sitting there sitting outside on the, or not outside, I'm sorry. I'm sitting on one of the couches in the day room, playing on my phone or even trying to figure it out. And a guy comes up to me, this guy I was in Coleman with, goes up, he goes, hey Cox, you got to come outside real quick. There's a guy outside who wants to talk to you. And I went, what? He goes, there's a guy outside who wants to talk to you. And I went, who? Tell him to come in. He goes, no, he's in a car. He needs to talk to you. And he goes, you need to come outside. And I went, all right. So I get up. I was like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know anybody. Nobody. The only people that know I'm even here is like Treon, and I'm working for him. Like, who stops? And nobody's stopping by the halfway. Who knows where the halfway house is?
Right.
I walk outside. Remember how everybody used to stand outside and smoke?
Yes.
There's like 20.
Around the tree.
Yeah, exactly. There's 20 guys standing outside smoking like this, staring. The guy that I told you about, the concert promoter, is in a white Lamborghini with the top off. His girlfriend is driving the car, blonde, blue-eyed. I walk out and I see him, and I walk over, and he goes, Matt Cox. He goes, come here. I walk over and I go, hey, what's going on? I kind of recognized him. He'd sat through my real estate class a couple times. We'd had lunch a few times. Like, I don't really remember him that much, but he remembered me. he said, "Hey man, I'm so and so. I was in your real estate class. Do you remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. What's going on?" Like I kind of remembered him. I was like, "Yeah, that was like a long time." He goes, "Yeah, it was a few years ago. I told you I'd look you up." He said, "I looked you up every once in a while. I would go on BOP, and I saw that you were going to be in the halfway house." He said, "I knew it said Orlando. You were going to be in Orlando." He said, "So I checked, and sure enough, you were here. I told my girl we had to go by." He said, "Man, do you need anything?" I said, "No, man." I said, "I can't. I'm not even supposed to be talking to you, bro." I said, "Like, they got videos. Like, you're going to get me violated." He goes, "Well, how can I get you talk to you?" And I said, "Man," I said, "I work at a gym," and I told him the name of the gym and this, and I'm sitting there talking to a guy in a Lamborghini in the halfway house parking lot with all these guys smoking cigarettes. Like, what the hell is going on? I go, "Bro, honestly, I can't." I said, "I work at a gym. It's called, Cultist 24/7 Fitness. So look it up, 24/7 Fitness. I'll be there tomorrow." And I turn around. He goes, "All right, I got you. And I walked off. Called me like 3 days later. He called the gym, talked to me, got my phone number, came by the gym. We talked for a while. Pulls up in his Lamborghini. Yeah, I was just like, this is my life. This is insane. I've met since I went to prison. Like I've met 4 or 5 guys that have Lamborghinis.
Yeah. I've met 2.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Like I didn't know these people before. Where were these people before?
And
when I had money,
you were in a low.
Yeah.
I'm in a pen and a medium.
Yeah, there shouldn't have been no guys with Lamborghinis and pins and mediums. That's insane.
No,
Those are violent guys.
It's none of them.
No. Oh,
one of them you introduced me to, which was the guy you sent me to Miami for, the one with the liquid.
Oh yeah.
He pulled up in his Lamborghini. I'm like, what the?
Yeah. Good times.
And the other one is who does my daughter's hair.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Now these are all like prison guys with Lamborghinis. Yeah. Well, no, not all of them.
Well, prison is the great equalizer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because Conrad Black was at Coleman Low.
Yeah.
And he's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah. Oh, I've met. There've been a few billionaires. Listen, I've met like 3 guys. I want to say I feel like it's 3 guys. I know for sure it is. I think it's 3 guys that worked at NASA. 3 guys that worked at NASA that I met that worked at NASA that were all in there. All of them pictures. I'm not saying I don't know if there's a correlation there, but the fact that you meet one person in real world that worked at NASA is odd. Like how often does that happen? Even if you lived in Florida, that's odd. To meet 3? Listen, the military dorm, my buddy Pete said the military dorm, out of the entire military dorm, there's like 32 to 35 guys that don't have charges for pictures. Out of 150 guys, there's close to 120 that are there for pictures.
I just saw that in the paper the other day about a raid and with the pictures. Didn't I show you where I got the message where it comes through like, "Hi, my name is such and such. I want to talk with you."
No, I get that all the time. I get where it's just a random text. It's like, hey, John, or hey, Sally. And you're like, this isn't Sally. Oh, what's your name? Stop it. Stop it. I don't know what you're doing. I don't have time for this foolishness.
I don't even respond to those. I'm talking, I get a text message or a messenger request. I told you about that one time and like, "Hi, I'm 16 and I'm blah." I'm like, oh my God.
Right. No, I don't get that far. Like I have gotten.
Well, I know because I'm like, "Oh, she's pretty. Let me." Yeah. You're like, oh.
Smash the stand, start jumping on it.
Yeah.
I just got a random text just now, probably coupled with a picture. "Hi, my name is John." No.
It's to me all that's in entrapment. That like Oh, we got to put those out. Get the hell out of here, man. I read a case where that happened to somebody. I'm trying to remember what was the circumstance behind that.
I remember a case that there was a first time that like the guy, because supposedly in the federal system, entrapment is not a defense. Like they don't allow you
to say I was entrapped.
I was entrapped.
Simply because that's what they're doing.
Because that's what they're doing. Like I hate it when you use what they're doing against them. So this is a guy that owned a piece of land that was right next to a piece of a federal park, right? Like a national park. And the park wanted to buy his land. And he, for 20 years or something, he refused to sell it. And suddenly, some new park administrators had come on board, and they were talking about expanding the park, and they were like, well, this is the park that we want. And they were trying to like say, we're going to take it. And he was saying, you don't have to have it. Like, you can't use eminent domain to take my property. It doesn't benefit the public enough that you need it. You've already got 400,000 acres of land. Like, it's just stupid. And he wouldn't sell it. And so suddenly he started getting these emails for a website for pictures, and he deleted it, and then it came again 2 days later, deleted it, then another one came and deleted it, then another one came, and every day, we're talking about every day, 4 or 5 a day of these emails saying to visit the website, very specific, saying what it was. This went on for 90 days. This guy, like, it was something like close to 1,000 times deleted it. Finally, one day he clicked on it. He said, I didn't know how to make it stop. I'd hit the stop to unsubscribe. And they proved it. He'd done all this. One day he finally clicked on it. And it's something, basically, he said, I flipped through some pictures. He said, very quickly, maybe 5 or 10 pictures. He said, got off the website, clicked the unsubscribe, and deleted it, thinking maybe that will work. Like, it was something along those lines.
Right. He's trying to finalize it, like, get rid of this.
There was like a 60 Minutes about this. The only reason I know it. It was like a
60 Minutes?
60 Minutes or 2020, one of those. And so, and I could be botching the story slightly. But what ended up happening was he gets arrested like 3 days later. They indict him and come and arrest him. And during the negotiations, they're telling him, like, hey, look, like, you to plead guilty. Like, they're trying to get his property. They're trying to use seizure to take his property. He's saying, what are you talking about? Like, seize what? That has nothing to do with this. And I don't even know what happened here. Like, I was trying to get rid of these things. So he goes to trial. Even though his lawyer's saying, you're done. People they're not going to look past the fact that you clicked on it. He goes to trial and he wins, which was insane, because he did click on it and he did look at the images, and that's all the law says. But right. It was enough that his lawyer had put together enough of a defense to say it's outrageous how many times they hammered him and bombarded him with this. And so he was able to win an entrapment style claim. Right. And he ended up winning, but and they showed also that the FBI was targeting him very specifically. Like, yeah, they were trying to get him hemmed up so that they could get a hold of his land somehow, get some leverage. Now, they were never able to get a specific person or anything, but it was pretty clear, and he ended up winning it.
Good.
Right. But, like you said,
surprised he didn't end up going to prison anyway.
Right. But that almost never happens. So I'm saying, like, the idea that he could win that defense, it almost never happens. Never. So that's an example that. I tell you another time, I knew a guy that, and this was pretty well documented too. This is like totally off the subject. But anybody that's watching this far would probably be interested. The point is that this guy he was buying credit card information, and the guy said, hey, what about getting some pictures? I think we all know what kind of pictures we're talking about. And the guy said, hey, man, I sell pictures, I sell videos, I have pictures of this. And he was like, oh, bro, I'm not interested in that. I'm trying to get, you advertised on this website that you had credit card information. Like, that's who he thought he was contacting. Right. And it somehow or another, it wasn't that. Like, they were like, well, we don't have that. He ended up getting an FBI agent that was getting this up, doing the, trying to get people to be interested in this other thing. So he ends up saying no. And finally the guy says, I have bootleg videos of new movies, and I have the credit card information you want. So he says,
trying to hit him with a double.
Well, so he says, the bootleg videos were just like bootleg videos from movies. So he dropped the other thing. And then he bought it. They sent it to him. He gets it. In the information, they had put like JPEGs of photographs of young people. They indict him, arrest him. They come and arrest him, grab his computer. He's got the images on there. They showed that he did look at them for a few seconds apiece. But in his mind, he said, did I look at them? Yes. He said, I didn't know what they were because I told him over and over again I wasn't interested in that. He did take a plea, by the way. He ended up taking a plea because he said, my lawyer was like, you're so screwed because the law says if you simply have possession, you're already guilty. They go, and you did have possession, and you did look at the pictures, and you looked at them too long. Like if you look at them for more than like 4 seconds or something, or 6 seconds, there's a length of time for you to look at it, realize what you're looking at is wrong, and delete it. He looked at it for longer. And he didn't delete them. They were like, so it's still on your computer. You didn't try and delete them. You're guilty. So he just took a plea. He got like, I don't know what it was, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. For just a few. Yeah, look, see? Like, and people say, like, well, what do you get so freaked out if somebody's trying to send you a message? Or, hell, you talk to Bozak. Bozak's like, he's like, anybody that tries to contact me that I think is even remotely too young, I delete. It's like, boom, no.
Yeah, and they sneak up on you. I have a buddy at my old celly that on his Facebook page, he sent me a couple of them. I'm like, what? I go, what is this? Oh, this is my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, don't send me any more.
Yeah, anybody that looks even remotely.
Yes.
And what's so funny, too, is like you could be 25 years old and send me a picture. 25-year-olds, to me, look like they're 12. You know, like the older you get, the younger everybody else looks. So if some girl said, oh, I'm 25, I'd be like, this chick looks like she's 12 years old. You know? So yeah, I could imagine being, because I hear these horror stories.
Well, I wasn't around them too. The ones I was around were probably success. They weren't just picture watchers.
No, they're
creators.
They were diddlers too. We had the
diddlers on the roof.
Yeah, hands on and hands off.
Yeah.
You know that dude you were talking to? Yeah, you know he's hands on, right? Oh man, are you serious?
No hands on would be there at all.
Oh, at your place?
At your place?
No, at the Low?
At the Low.
Yeah, they were there.
The hands on?
Yeah. Yeah, these are guys like brought somebody across state lines. I told you. Didn't I ever tell you about
it couldn't have been a full rape.
No, this is a Low.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know about the full. This is somebody who made the attempt or was actually showed up someplace.
Right. The ones that I saw were absolutely hands on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, listen, there was a guy in Germany who flew from Germany to the United States thinking he was meeting like a 14-year-old boy or something. Flew all the way there. And it's legal in Germany, by the way. Like the age of consent was like 14. The boy was 14. He flies all the way over here, gets arrested, and says, hey, I haven't done anything wrong. I was in my country. They said, you flew to the United States. He then goes to the German consulate and tries to get help. They wouldn't lift a finger for him. He's like, it's not illegal in Germany. Like, I didn't do it. And the other thing is in Germany, like, you didn't do anything. To him, it's like, I just showed up. I didn't do it. In Germany, you would have to have done something. They were like, nope, 25 years.
America, when America tells them like we're keeping this one, the consulate's kind of like, oh well, there's nothing we can do. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't. Anyway,
yeah. I mean, not that he's not a weirdo, but
is he a weirdo?
I mean, you get to a point where it's like everybody's a weirdo. Everybody I met was just like odd. It's like everybody. You just meet people. It's just. It's so, I hate to say that I would, started to try and figure out what people's charges were. Like and they would lie, they always use fraud. They always say, what are you here for? Fraud. And you why can't you say something you could pull off? Because, very quickly it's like, oh, what kind of fraud? Credit card fraud. You were charged with credit card fraud? Yes. I was charged with, they actually said credit card fraud? Yeah, it was credit card fraud. Well, there's no federal charge for credit card fraud. So it had to be access device fraud. It had to be like if you're going to lie about my field of expertise,
learn something.
Do some research.
That's right.
Like you can't say like,
fraud.
Cannabis. I was receiving cannabis in the mail. Say that. You don't have to know anything.
Well, you know, I will give them credit. Like if they're at the low and they're saying fraud, that's actually security level appropriate. Because most of the time, drugs are medium and up.
Right. There were some guys guys would work their way down from the medium,
right,
to the low.
But yeah, I'm here for drugs. They probably feel like they get called out for drugs too fast anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't think listen, it doesn't matter. You talk to these guys for 10 minutes, and anyways, after 10 minutes, you're just like, no, man. I mean, even if you talk the talk, like, I'm sorry, bro. I don't believe you.
You're not a drug addict.
You're not here for that. Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I got all the lingo down. Stop it.
I've been watching them. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
Offer.
You can start. Bro, that's all I think about.
The ones that you envy? Is that what that's?
Oh, listen, I hear scam. Are we recording? Yes. Okay. So I hear scams all the time where I see it, I read a little article, or somebody tells me about their scam, or I'll see something on the news, and it's just like, oh man, like if they didn't. The problem with most people is you read this scam and you're like, that's a good scam. Like, what went wrong? Like, he did it in his own name.
Yes.
Or he did it in his sister's name, or one of his buddies. Like, what are you doing? And then it breaks down where you're like, why didn't they just open a bank account in somebody else's name, or in a fake person's name, or in a homeless person or whatever's name, and dump the money in there and remove it? And you're like, well, and then I always have to remind myself, like, bro, not everybody, and this is going to sound arrogant, has your skill set. Like, not everybody can figure out how to get a driver's license in somebody else's name, or an ID or whatever.
Not everybody's multifaceted, where they just have a scam and they like a pit bull, they lock on it.
Right. They're like, I could probably make $10,000, $20,000 on this, not realizing, okay, you could make 20 grand.
Yes.
But 3 months from now, you're in front of a judge, or you're just getting handcuffed and you're waiting to be in front of a judge.
Yeah.
And then you do 6 months or a year, and now you're on your probation, and then you start looking back on it and you go, Jesus, God Almighty, for 30 grand or 20 grand.
I just put a year in jail.
I spent a year in jail.
Right.
I lost all my shit. People never realize, like, going to jail, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. I'll go to jail for fucking 6 months if I can come back where I left off.
Right.
The problem is, you're coming back, you've lost everything. And what's even worse is that the people you know are the ones that took it.
Yes.
Like nobody came in and boxed up my shit and stuck it in the storage unit, or even in their garage.
It's pilfered. You get absolutely robbed. Everyone's taking everything.
You see somebody 2 years later and you're like, hey, Jimmy, what is that my shirt?
Maybe.
Hey, if you like the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, share the video, hit the bell so you get notified, leave a comment, and also consider joining my Patreon. I really need it. See ya.